Nice team up, everybody. Batman, it was great to finally...
We may have won here and now, but evil will surface again. And when it does, we'll be there waiting, watching, reckoning. A silent guardian. A dark night rises.
Yeah, sure. Hey, we're gonna grab a beer. You wanna come?
Wait. You're all going to just go and hang out? Together?
Why? What do you do after a battle?
Mostly I sit alone, in a cave, and think about my dead parents.
Dude.
Hey, look, it's the Avengers!
Hurry! We must only be a rumor, a legend, a whispered word in the night. Are you signing autographs?
Hi, Tony Stark. How's it going? You 18?
What are you doing? You just gave away your secret identity!
You don't tell people who you are? That sounds really lonely.
I have a girlfriend. Or, I did. I had to make a choice between her and saving somebody else.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that is really glad a character called the Moon Knight keeps his pants up. I am Jeremy.
Steve. Jesse.
And V.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The theme music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard at the very beginning of the show was The Dark Knight Meets the Avengers by collegehumor.com. You can find more of their videos in their channel, College Humor, on youtube.com. Steve, did I catch you off guard with that one? I just came up with that stupid joke.
I had never considered his name in that manner, no.
I didn't think so either. I'm running through names in my head. What characters haven't I mentioned? Moon Knight. Why does that sound funny? Oh, right! How's everybody doing?
I just got done killing a cow.
This requires an explanation immediately. Otherwise, I have to call somebody.
Yesterday, I went to a brony meet and I decided to bring some Korean-style ribs, just because I like it and I want to share it.
You went to a brony meetup with Korean-style ribs?
Yes. We had
Were
fun.
they 100% Rainbow Dash? What the frick, dude?
This is a type of ribs that my mother used to make when I was growing up, so I thought I just feel like sharing, and I really wanted ribs.
There is something really creepy about the idea of like 8 guys sitting around the table talking about how much they like ponies while eating ribs.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're right.
That's a bunch of mixed metaphors in my head that just would not be there, especially if like half of them have like barbecue sauce slathered on their face. Just watching that in my mind is freaking me the frick out right now.
And I knew that was coming as soon as I started talking about it, but...
Thanks for that! I'm not going to sleep very well tonight.
We didn't end up eating all of it, so I brought some of it back, and my mother cooked the rest of it, and I just destroyed it, like, right before the podcast.
Great. I now have an image of a menu. Would you like Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, or the Princess? V, could you help me out and scrub this from my frickin' brain?
Hey, I said cow, not horse.
Huh. V, help!
I don't...
Damn it!
That's his boobs.
What?
I'm in a happy place now. Okay. All right with this, yeah. Okay. Smart girl. How are you doing today, V?
I'm doing pretty well.
All right.
Did entrepreneur plans this weekend, and just,
Just going to be leaving us and starting our own magazine soon.
No. Not a magazine.
Okay. Steve, what about you?
I just got back from hanging out with my mom. Today's Mother's Day and all.
Yeah. I cooked breakfast for mine today. Pasta dish, no less. So I spent a little while in the kitchen working on that.
Pasta for breakfast?
I went unconventional. My mother is one of those people where the afternoons can switch rather rapidly, especially since I have to do this show for about 3 hours in an evening. So it was one of those things where I intended to cook dinner, then I went through my schedule and realized that it may not be possible. So I improvised. I make this sauceless pasta dish. It involves nothing but rigatoni, bacon, and half an onion, sliced olives, and mozzarella.
Yep, I remember that.
Sounds good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah. But we will talk about the subject of the week, which is Marvel Avengers Age of Ultron. And I'm sure we got a lot to say considering that came out almost 2 weeks ago. Actually, over a week ago, I should say.
Yeah.
We actually do have 2 crowdfunder in our Kickstarter corner this week, one of which we're familiar with, one of which we aren't. The first one is Night Terrors, the augmented reality survival horror on Indiegogo.
Okay.
Remember we talked about that in last week's video game news? There was a team putting together a survival horror game based on cell phones.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their crowdfunder is still going. They have 29 days left. They have 1,695 backers. The goal to get their project off the ground is $70,000.
Oh, they've made that.
No, actually,
No?
they have $20,946. They had a hell of an initial boost, but they've only gained about 4,000 since we saw it last week. They still have roughly a month, though. There's plenty of time to do this. This is being done by Novum Analytics out of Kansas City, Missouri. And I just based on what we saw yesterday, I still think this is last week. This is still an interesting and very fun project. It just may be one of those things that's harder to convince people to put money behind. It's not like you have a whole lot of tangible products to go with it. But if you back it with $150, your face will become one of the projections in their nightmare survival horror. I'm not quite sure how to take that. But for $300, you can be a voiceover actor in the in the project. Their highest backing reward is at $30,000. They call it corporate sponsorship. We'll work with your company and promote your upcoming movie or event with a character in the game. Our creative team will work with yours and ensure your horror character is introduced to the world in an early promotion. Message us before you donate, and we'll chat about what you're thinking. It's ambitious. I don't know many people that would have $30,000 just laying around to do that, but it's ambitious. I'll say that.
Could be interesting.
Yeah. The only other one I've got apparently closed recently. It was Haiku Warrior.
Interesting.
It was done by Jason Anarchy. It was supposed to be a new tabletop RPG told entirely through haikus. It's made by the creator of Drinking Quest. It was made for 1 to 4 players. I don't know when the Kickstarter stopped, but the Kickstarter ended last May on May 7th. They had raised $14,503, and it's above goal from only 408 backers. There's something very interesting about the idea of a tabletop RPG told entirely through haiku.
Yeah,
Does that mean all of us would go back to grade school when it's just how do you respond? You got to think of 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. How do I say it? You'll have a whole bunch of people talking while counting on their fingers.
Pretty much.
I wish the page was still up. I'd like to know more about that particular project. But we won't dawdle. We'll move right into the video game news. It's been announced that there will be an announcement next week regarding the new Assassin's Creed game called Syndicate. If you remember, we went through some photos of this one that's supposed to be set in Victorian, turn-of-the-century London. You don't remember that? They had some stunning images of this game.
I don't know.
I kind of remember that.
I'll tell you what, I found the page of the original story. I will send you that page as a reminder of what this is supposed to look like, and it is pretty.
Oh yeah, no, I remember this. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So Syndicate is going to get a full announcement as of this coming week.
Huh.
I'm curious to know more. This would be the most technologically advanced Assassin's Creed game with the exception of those times you're running around outside the device that allows you to access memories and stuff.
Right.
Which does seem to be a part of the game that wasn't well used in the in Black Flag and Unity. It seems like they've almost abandoned that.
I'm wondering if they're steering more away from it because they don't want to give too much of the end story away. I don't know.
Maybe. It also seemed to detract from the story when I watch other people play it, to have these short stints in the game where you're suddenly yanked into the near future and you have to do some kind of mini find it quest before you jump back in the machine and go back in time again. That's just my opinion. It's not like it's word of law or anything. I barely played Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, me neither.
I own them. I just haven't played them. Now that I've upgraded my computer, I don't really have an excuse, but time.
Windows... Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was one that had Windows Live on it, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
It's quite possible.
Because that was what kept me from playing Batman Arkham Asylum for the longest time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue because I had already ended up having to sign up for Windows Live when I started playing.
It's not that I have an issue with using it. It's just I had trouble with actually signing in with it.
Yeah,
so I would try to sign in.
It was a little buggy.
It didn't seem to work for whatever fucking reason. I was just like, fuck it, I'm not playing.
I couldn't relate on any part of that scale. We did get another announcement about another game coming out. Disney will not rest on its laurels on any arm of its media empire, it seems, these days, because they've announced Disney Infinity 3.0. For people that don't know how quickly that is, 2.0 just came out last fall officially. They already have 3.0 scheduled for this fall, and according to Game Informer, the rumors were correct, because Disney 3.0 will include Disney characters, Marvel characters, and Star Wars characters.
Well, it's a pretty good reason to have a 3.0.
The promo image on Game Informer includes characters like Mickey, it looks like one of the avatars from Inside Out, Korra from Tron, Ultron, the Hulkbuster, Hulk, Spider-Man, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Ahsoka Tano, Yoda, and the middle-aged Obi-Wan Kenobi. Man, they won't stop with that. The question I've got, though, is that I did not know during last Comic-Con that 2.0 was being sold 3 months early at that place. I wonder if they're going to do the same thing this year.
Looks like the Hasbro booth might have some competition.
They must have had an announcement somewhere, because as my wife and I were walking around outside trying to debate where we were going to eat, we just walked by this line of people who were standing in front of double doors. One would go in and somebody else would come out with a large bag, and it had Disney Infinity stuff plastered all over it. So I asked somebody standing guard, is this Infinity 2.0? Oh, yeah. My wife and I looked at each other, and we looked at that line half a block long and said, no. Nah, we're hungry. It was on our mind, and we knew we had an Xbox at our hotel room, but no, just not in the mood. Even though we are only less than 2 months away from Batman Arkham Knight, the news is coming fast and furious. We saw the trailer last week that seemed to involve some kind of tag team tandem moves. This week it's been announced playing the role of Batman is the guy that Steve, Jesse, Brandon, and I saw on a busy Friday night. Kevin Conroy is doing it once again.
Nice.
Cool.
Also, in that, there was a bit of a breakdown, according to Yahoo Games, as to what was going on with all those tandem moves we saw in the last trailer. This is interesting, because according to the story that was written by Samit Sarkar, quote, a gameplay element Rocksteady calls dual play. The feature lets players switch freely between two superheroes. The possibilities include Batman, Robin, Nightwing, and Catwoman for certain fights in Arkham Knight. According to lead scriptwriter Martin Lancaster, quote, it's fantastic because we're able to build these relationships not just in cinematic sequences, but right through the gameplay, through every aspect of the game. Unquote. The senior animator says that you can start a beatdown with one character and then switch to another to deal with an impending threat. In that case, the AI will take over and complete the beatdown.
Oh.
The lead designer on Arkham Knight, Ian Ball, says that Batman also has new uses for his gadgets in combat. Technically prior to combat. You can fire batarangs, freeze grenades, explosive gel, and more while you're gliding down towards a group of thugs. Once you're in combat, you can pre-aim your backclaw to yank the last standing enemy towards you for a clothesline.
Oh, and some of these guys like wrestling. Seriously, some of these guys like wrestling.
Wouldn't that be awesome if you're playing Batman, you fire the Batclaw, and as soon as this guy's coming in, all of a sudden you hear Jim Ross, he's setting him up for the clothesline from hell! Well, it sounds like this one, for the last game Rocksteady intended to do, they pulled out all the stops.
That's a good...
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also in Arkham Knight news, we saw that image of Batgirl last week, who is a new playable character in some format in the game.
Yeah.
It's been announced by Arkham Knight director Sefton Hill. Batgirl is Barbara Gordon.
Huh?
Barbara Gordon. The lady who was Oracle in the prior games is Batgirl in this one.
Well, I find that confusing, even especially
recon?
because they'd already showed her as Oracle in one of those Flash scenes.
Maybe she took a special kryptonite serum and can walk now?
I don't know.
Oh, they used a new 52 retcon.
Oh, so Superboy Prime comes through and just punches glass and she can stand up again, right?
Yeah, believe what you want.
Who said believed? I don't understand how this is supposed to work either. I'm trying to understand this as much as the rest of you. There's also a study that came out via Business Insider. It's a study released by Penn State that says the attractiveness of your gaming avatar has an impact on your gameplay.
Really?
How?
It says that, according to the study released by Penn State, female players should expect as much assistance as any of the male players if their avatar has a high level of attractiveness, also defined by the researchers. In other words, the way some players behave in video games mirrors the way they think in real life. The study goes a little further to say that players gave less assistance if a female player used a male avatar, but players would offer the same amount of help if a male player used a female avatar with any level of attractiveness.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. We want to look at pretty things.
Yeah, I can't say that's entirely surprising. I've often said that, a girl's mind matters, but, in all honesty, what she looks like does matter to me as well. That sounds shallow and everything, but
I don't think that sounds shallow. I just think that sounds real. It's been proven by multiple studies, and it's not just girls. Girls will help out an attractive male more often than they'll help out an ugly one. Same thing for guys. They help out attractive females more than ugly ones. Same sex, it still helps if you're attractive.
Yeah, the best summation I've ever heard was from a TV show. I like what's upstairs, but the staircase still matters.
I even noticed that gay guys talk to me more. Like, they're clearly, into the dudes, but I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've had gay people grab my ass. It's not anything new.
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking back to the MythBusters episode where they gave Carrie the enhanced chest size.
Yeah,
and it didn't matter if it was guys or girls. She got bigger tips the bigger her breast size was.
That's insane.
Maybe they were tipping by the pound.
Oh my.
Well, pushing forward in video game news, there was a new statistic released by Activision Blizzard about World of Warcraft. And the current numbers say that as of the quarter ending March 31st, World of Warcraft had dropped nearly 3 million subscribers. They're down to 7.1 million current subscribers.
Wow.
And that is confirmed that at the end of 2014 they had 10 million. So yeah, in roughly 3 months they lost almost a third of their player base.
Yet they still have more players than the other MMOs.
I don't think that's arguable. World of Warcraft is still the giant among them, but the only thing I can't tell is whether there's more equity if these players are moving on to other games or if they're giving up MMOs entirely. That's not part of the study.
I'd say it's probably both.
It's interesting. Destiny and Hearthstone currently combined for 50 million registered players. Hearthstone has a confirmed 30 million, which means there's 20 million on Destiny.
Yeah, but how many of those are same players with multiple accounts?
Yeah.
It's easily done since it's a free-to-play game.
Yeah, I couldn't say. It's just Activision Blizzard, touting more of their own numbers. And Heroes of the Storm has 11 million beta signups. So take that for what you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The franchise director for Halo, the Master Chief Collection, Frank O'Connor, He's admitted that the Master Chief Collection has been a black eye for the series. He talked to Xbox Achievements, and he said, quote, Halo, the Master Chief Collection is definitely a black eye for us. We're not going to rest on our laurels or hide from the mistakes we made. I will say that the nature of the Master Chief Collection, you've got 5 different game engines. You've got different studios working on it. You've got 343 working on putting it together. The footprint and complexity was outrageous. Unquote. That does make a little bit of sense in the different game engines creating a problem when it comes to making the 5 games work on one disc.
Yeah.
On a machine that technically didn't have them before. He did go on to say that, quote, Halo 5 is being made by a completely different team. It's a singular product. It was built from the ground up for this new technology rather than being sort of dragged kicking and screaming from 2001 and forced and shoehorned into a 2014 console. The problem spaces are still very challenging, but they're radically different. I think the beta is already a decent first step in a retail environment, showing that we don't have the same problems, unquote. It is true that if Halo 5 comes off as a success, it may end up wiping out a lot of the bad memories from the Master Chief Collection. I'm really glad I don't try multiplayer on it. It sounds like the campaign works just fine, but multiplayer is the mess.
Yeah, I haven't tried multiplayer either. I honestly haven't even made it past the first the Combat Evolved. I've just been so busy playing other things, but yeah, I haven't really had many issues with the single player, from what I've played.
Yeah, it's just boring as dirt compared to modern games.
I actually found it rather amusing because there's no recoil. And that I was like, it's almost too easy. I mean, I can totally kill someone with the original Halo assault rifle. I'm like,
you know what? I'll tell you what. Bring your console. Bring your console with you to Fanime. We'll run some fun. Moving forward here, there's a PC game that's been delayed in Australia for a rather unusual reason. Project Cars is a new game that's coming out. It's supposed to be a very interesting, very detailed driving simulator. There were several customers who had the game ordered on PC, and they won't be getting their copies on launch day.
Why the hell not?
Oh, the publisher of the game, Namco Bandai, told Kotaku AU, quote, during the recent heavy weather event in Sydney, our vendor's partner warehouse and stock of Project Cars for PC were severely damaged. Replacement stock is on the way, but unfortunately we can no longer receive stock early enough to ship the game for delivery on release day. Currently, we are hoping to ship your order from our distribution center on release day. They had severe rain.
Yeah,
the warehouse flooded.
That's active God level right there,
Yeah. There's just nothing you can do about that. And from what I understand from people living in Australia, beautiful country. When it rains, it frickin' rains. So if somebody has to wait for your copy of Project Cars, very sorry, but literally nothing the video game designer could do about it.
Yeah, the gaming god said, sorry.
Yep. Now, news that I think most of us have been waiting for when it comes to this show. Oculus VR has announced that the Oculus Rift headset will launch in early 2016. That's good news. The so-so news is that when they made that announcement, they didn't say anything about what it might cost.
Yeah, that is a question. I'm also kind of curious as to what its functionality, or what are you going to be using it on? What games are going to be compatible with it?
I don't know. According to Eddie McCooch from GameSpot, the VR headset, the Gear VR headset, which is currently, we've seen that, it's been made to work with a Samsung G6. That's priced right now at about $200. There's been some speculation that based on that, the Oculus Rift, the main Oculus Rift, I should say, can be priced as high as $1,000, although the designers say that that's rather preposterous.
No one would be able to afford something. Well, I shouldn't say no one, but they would not be able to mass market it at that price.
Well, not to gamers at any rate. You could if you could convince people who buy $700 iPhones every freaking year. But it is admitted that it will be more expensive than the Gear VR. However, the actual price is unknown. The latest version of the Oculus Rift that was sent to developers was $350. So I would expect it to be probably to the tune of about $400, $450.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Last part of video game news. How would you guys like to ride Mario?
Context.
Please.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to add context. I almost want to hear you answer this question, but I'll go ahead anyway. Nintendo has announced a partnership with Universal Studios theme parks.
Oh.
According to an official release, quote, the immersive experiences will include major attractions at Universal theme parks and will feature Nintendo's most famous characters and games. They're looking to create spectacular, dedicated experiences based on Nintendo's wildly popular games, characters, and worlds, unquote. So there will be Nintendo-themed rides at most Universal Studios parks, it sounds like.
Nice.
I still don't think that'll make them catch up to Disney, though. Disney's kind of, they're kind of the overbearing ones to beat in that category.
Yeah.
They are the overlords.
Yeah. Much as that makes me happy for my comic book movies, but sad for everything else. Alright, from there we're moving into Marvel Media News. We'll talk about the Marvel Media projects that don't end up on the comic book page. Certain stories we're going to hold off for our main conversation on Age of Ultron, certainly, but there's a few more here that we definitely can talk about. First off, is that as of last Friday, production has started on Captain America Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And already a plethora of stories have come out about it in like 6 days. It's amazing. First off, can you believe that two of the actors are already fighting on the set?
Which ones?
Frank Grillo and Chris Evans.
I don't know the Frank person.
He's
Yeah,
Crossbones.
Chris Evans plays Steve Rogers, Captain America. Frank Grillo plays Crossbones.
Ah.
The funny thing is, they're not fighting via fists. They're fighting on Twitter. And when I say they're fighting on Twitter, they're not even fighting the real sense of the word. I think they're a little too into their characters. Let's see. Chris Evans shared on Twitter last week, quote, don't underestimate the benefit of awe. Take time to be amazed by things. By anything. By everything, unquote. And in response to that, Frank Grillo wrote, quote, I'm amazed at the ass whooping you got coming. Signed, X, unquote. To which Evans decided to come back with, quote, I'm amazed you can read. Be honest, your kids are helping you sound out the words, unquote. And because he wouldn't let Evans have the last word, Grillo responded again saying, quote, I can read the hospital report for you after you wake up from that little snooze you're going to take, hero boy, unquote.
I love it.
I don't care how they're doing this. I don't care if they're just sitting in their respective trailers just kind of typing this stuff out. I don't care if they're sitting next to each other in chairs going, this is going to be funny, click, 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 click. It's just, it's nice to know they're having this good of a time already. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of amazing that there's already new information that's come out about Captain America's costume during all this.
Oh, where are they changing?
Well, let's see if we can put this in context. First off, here is the one that he wore in Age of Ultron. This is one I'm sure by now we're all fairly well familiar with. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Now then, this is the one that they've put together for Civil War. The changes are subtle. They've taken out a lot of the red trim, from what I can see.
Very yeah. The boots are different. The boots
and they've also
taken out different.
They've also taken out the white bars in the at the biceps.
Yep.
It's mostly the same costume from the prior film. It's just quieter.
Mm-hmm. Looks like maybe fewer pieces.
It's also no secret around the set that when it comes to Chris Evans, his personal favorite of the Captain America costumes was the stealth costume from the Winter Soldier.
Hmm.
That's his personal favorite.
I could see that.
And
so what
now from there,
reflection in his shield.
What are you referring to? I'm sorry, I closed that window already.
In the Civil War variant, there's a reflection in his shield.
Yeah.
I think that might be the Falcon.
I don't think so. It looks like a shape.
Or
it looks like a broken shape. It looks like two H's.
Oh yeah, no, the H is bicep, but there's something going cut in half. Looks like a person.
Yeah, but it looks like
I'm
it
not
has
sure.
flames trailing out the bottom of it.
Oh God, no.
It almost looks like it could be the symbol of Hector Hammond, who is in the comics. He's a corporate raider type.
Hmm.
But that's only a guess. I couldn't really say. It's interesting. I never actually stared at that before. When it comes to Marvel TV news, we have a little bit of bad news. ABC has decided to abandon the idea for a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spinoff.
Oh.
I'm guessing the reason for that, as it's detailed on Yahoo TV and Deadline by Nelly Andreeva, S.H.I.E.L.D. fans have been divided by the spinoff. They don't like the idea of taking two of the more popular, recently made characters of Mockingbird and Lance Hunter and sending them off on their own. I don't know. I mean, the show based around the two of them could have had a completely different feel if it was allowed to develop.
Yeah, I thought that they were a very interesting duo. I thought that they were really developing them for a reason, honestly.
I don't know. You know, that's not news I welcome. I thought the characters were kind of smothered on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not because they did anything bad, but because there's so many characters to share screen time with already.
Exactly.
Yeah. When they expanded the cast, it didn't do them any favors as far as getting everybody equal screen time.
Right.
Yeah. Further on in Marvel media news, that word has it that Marvel is down to a selection of 6 possible directors for the new Spider-Man film they're working on that comes out in 2017.
Wow, only 6.
Well, they had 6 actors before, now they're down to 6 directors. Word is they've got Jonathan Levine, who worked on 50-50 and Warm Bodies, Ted Melfi from St. Vincent, Jason Moore from Pitch Perfect, Jared Hess from Napoleon Dynamite, and the duo of John Francis Daly and Jonathan M. Goldenstein, who are writing and directing the upcoming Vacation revival. A decision could be made as early as next week, apparently.
There's a lot of comedy directors.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed myself. They're looking for upbeat, it looks like, for this one.
All right.
I don't know if I'd ask the guy whose last directing credit was a movie where 7 women were trying to do a Glee Club. It's a little different. I'm also not sure I'd ask the guy who did Napoleon Dynamite. Nothing wrong with that film per se, but not quite the feel I'd be looking for.
I haven't seen it. Everything that's been described to me about the movie makes me want to stay away from it.
It's all personal.
It has its moments. I haven't watched the entire thing. Certain parts that I have seen made me laugh. Others just were like, ouch.
Jeez, excuse me. So, there is word out there that Professor X in X-Men Age of Apocalypse is going to be bald.
Yep.
I wonder how James McAvoy was going to take that, considering in the last 2 movies he made it very clear he didn't want to shave his head.
Mm.
Well, if you take a look at the link I just sent you, looks like the choice has been removed for him.
Well, he might not have shaved his head. They might have Well, it
Take a
would have been
look at-
easier to shave head. Yeah.
Take a look at the link I sent you. It looks like there's actually hair missing from his skull now.
He does not look happy.
No, he doesn't, and that does look like shaving cream on his ear, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
He has that expression of, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Either that or
wonder
he's
if-
getting into character.
God, and there's still plenty of hair there. They either need to do that again, or the plan is to completely wax his head, which is just going to make him even angrier. Wouldn't that be odd if Professor X just got angry, turned green, and started beating the shit out of the barber?
I could see it.
Yeah, I have news that's going to make the women of the world upset.
Uh-oh.
Who's
It's
gay?
official. Oh, nobody. Jeez, that's going to make people upset?
It would take
There's a lot of women out there who just go, oh, wonderful, I can see him rub up against Thor. Oh, great. No, actually, the word is that Hugh Jackman has made it official. Wolverine 3 is the last time he will put on claws.
Didn't he just, didn't he have, cancer?
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman? Not that I know of.
Hmm.
He was the one who recently said he planned on playing Wolverine till he dies. Maybe Wolverine 3 is where he dies, I guess. He was on the Dr. Oz show of all places, and he said, quote, "This will be my last one. It's my last time." It just felt like it was the right time to do it. And let's be honest, 17 years. I never thought in a million years it would last, so I'm grateful to the fans for the opportunity of playing it, unquote.
Wow. Yeah, dude.
Wolverine 3 is slated to begin filming in 2016. He went on to elaborate, quote, I kind of have it in my head that what we're going to do in this last one, it just feels like it's the perfect way to go out, unquote. I wonder what the hell that means. I'm guessing that means no Wolverine in Age of Apocalypse, then.
Unless they get another actor. Just because he's not putting on the claws doesn't mean someone isn't.
I guess the question becomes, who would you ask to do it? Because other than being as tall as he is, he's done the character very well.
Yeah, it would be really hard to replace him, but I bet you it could be done. I never thought someone could cast a Kirk I would accept.
Well, speaking of acceptance, there's an interesting actor who wants to play Frank Castle.
Who?
Talking to Collider, Tom Hardy says he wants to do it.
What's he been in?
Tom Hardy is the one who's starring in Mad Max Fury Road, and he also played Bane in The Dark Knight Rises.
Huh.
He said, quote, I want the Punisher. I want the Punisher or Splinter Cell. I want something. I don't know what I want, unquote. The interviewer comments that Hardy as the Punisher would be interesting. Hardy says his size could be an issue. He said, quote, I'm not big enough to be the Punisher. I'm 5'9". I would love it, unquote. I didn't like Hardy's Bane, but Hardy as the Punisher? I could kind of see that. I just wonder what kind of story you come up with. The Punisher, if you're doing a brand new version, you can't exactly be the same guy who was in like Korea and Vietnam again.
Yeah.
You can always easily do Desert Storm.
I suppose that's true.
I mean, that's what they did with Tony Stark.
But we also have an announcement that we've been waiting for. They finally announced when X-Men Days of Futures Past, the Rogue Cut is being released.
Oh, nice.
And something tells me that while we're in San Diego, we're going to have to keep an eye out because the release date announced is July 14th.
Ooh,
God.
How much you want to bet Fox is going to have a stack of frickin' discs at their booths?
Nothing.
July 14th?
July 14th. This thing is supposed to come out like 3 days after Comic-Con closes. Little close, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this should have been with the other story. Also in Captain America Civil War, I don't think there's any more room for actors in this. IO9 was nice enough to put together a list of every confirmed, not rumored, confirmed actor that's in this movie so far. Are you guys ready? Because you might need a flowchart.
Then probably not, but okay.
Let's go.
Okay, Chris Evans as Steve Rogers / Captain America. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark / Iron Man. Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff / Black Widow. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes / the Winter Soldier. Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson / the Falcon. Paul Bettany as the Vision. Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton or Hawkeye. Don Cheadle as Jim Rhodes or War Machine. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff or the Scarlet Witch. Paul Rudd as Scott Lang or the Ant-Man. Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa or the Black Panther. Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter or Agent 13. Daniel Bruhl, who recently revealed to be playing Baron Helmut Zemo. Frank Grillo as Brock Rumlow or Crossbones. William Hurt as General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. And Martin Freeman in an unnamed role but rumored to be Everett K. Ross.
16. Holy shit.
And mind you, remember we had that joke how the Infinity War is being filmed back-to-back over 9 months and not a Hobbit to be seen?
Right.
Uh-huh.
In Civil War, Martin Freeman, the Hobbit himself, is playing a role now.
Nice.
Now we know where we stashed the little dude.
I mean, we've complained how some of these...
Martin Freeman as Puck.
Oh!
That's mean, man.
I was saying, we've complained how some of these superhero
Martin Freeman
titles
is Pit
cram
Patrol.
in way too many characters. I think 16 is a bit excessive.
I wonder what the runtime of this movie is supposed to be, because if it's less than 2 hours, 30 minutes, there's not enough.
Well, I'm wondering how many of those people are going to be more cameos than...
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd say the last 4 or 5 are more likely to be cameos. But I think the biggest reveal out of that entire list was the fact that it's already been confirmed that Paul Rudd is returning as the Ant-Man for the movie.
Mm.
And this movie comes out, I think, May 5th of 2016. They're filming it now. They'll probably wrap it in about 2 to 3 months, which means it has to go right into post-production if they're going to make it by next year.
Right.
Yes.
Speaking of impossible filming times. In regards to Avengers Infinity War 1 and 2, it's going to be shot entirely in IMAX and an RE2D camera. The directors, Joe and Anthony Russo, plan to use the special cameras for certain action sequences in Civil War, but Infinity War will be the first time they use the cameras during the entirety of the films.
The budget's going to be huge.
According to the Russos in a statement, quote, "The intent with the Infinity War films is to bring 10 years of accumulative storytelling to an incredible climax. We felt that the best way to exploit the scale and scope required to close out the final chapter in these 3 phases was to be the first film shot entirely in IMAX/RE digital camera," unquote.
Huh. That's expensive.
Something tells me if you don't see Infinity War in IMAX, you're just wasting your time.
Well, it's
All
good
right,
to
road
know
trip to Fresno.
It's good to know ahead of time that it's being done in IMAX.
Turlock.
You never know if it's worth going to see the IMAX or not.
Is there one in Turlock?
I think there is.
Well, you guys have to check a map, because it was also released this week that they selected the writers for Infinity Wars. The writers named are Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely.
Okay. Do we know them?
You should. This duo have co-written Thor: The Dark World and all 3 Captain America movies.
Oh, nice.
So there's going to be some pretty good cohesion running through the movies, I think, with these 2 working on it. Just as a reminder, Infinity War Part 1 is going to be released on May 4th, 2018. Infinity War Part 2 will be May 3rd, 2019. Now, Joss Whedon has had to quit Twitter.
I heard about this.
Yeah, Joss Whedon received a ton of negative comments on Twitter about his portrayal of the Black Widow in Age of Ultron.
What?
Before anybody rails, we'll get to that, I'm sure. We will get to that. However, Gunn did quit Twitter after a bunch of negative comments were thrown his way by a few people. I don't know who, and I honestly don't care. James Gunn decided to defend Joss Whedon leaving Twitter. Do you want me to read this post in its entirety? It's like 6 paragraphs here.
Cut down.
Highlight it.
Summarize.
Let's see. Let's start with the first 2 paragraphs here. Quote, "Imagine being a guy like Joss Whedon who's committed his life to fandom and to creating the best characters he possibly can. Characters he loves. And has spent 2 years of his life working on a movie. And then he has to wake up to this shit on Twitter. Yes, I know Age of Ultron has an A cinema score, and far and away most people loved it. But the angry contingent of fandom is getting more aggressive all the time, and is difficult to block out as a person in the public eye. My plea to all of you, and this is nothing new, is that we try to be a little kinder on the internet and elsewhere. And honestly, that includes being kind to people who are tweeting this nonsense. I don't believe you can tweet about wanting to find a movie director and curb stomp him and be a happy person. That person's statement might make you a little angry, and that makes me angry too. But thank God the circumstances of my life and your life didn't lead us to being the person that has the need to anonymously tweet that to someone on the internet. And as much as we may want to respond with vitriol to these tweets, I think that just creates more insanity," unquote.
Don't feed the trolls.
Yes.
I go back to Neil Sampat as my spirit animal. The best part, though, is that we released a statement not long after that. Turns out that people didn't understand him at all. According to an interview he had with BuzzFeed, Whedon decried the notion that feminist extremism drove him from Twitter. He said, quote, "I saw a lot of people say, well, the social justice warriors destroyed one of their own. It's like, nope, that didn't happen. That's horseshit, believe me. I've been attacked by militant feminists since I got on Twitter. That's something I'm used to. Every breed of feminism is attacking every other breed, and every subsection of liberalism is always busy attacking another section of liberalism, because God forbid they should all band together and actually fight for the cause." I just thought, wait a minute, if I'm going to start writing again, I have to go to the quiet place, and this is the least quiet place I've ever been in my life, unquote. So, there you go. He's writing movies. Shut up. We may have found out why Marvel decided not to have a movie panel at San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Oh?
It's been announced that for D23 Expo 2015, that's going on August 14th through 18th, they will be premiering new clips and offerings from Disney films, Lucasfilms, and Marvel films.
That's a little disappointing.
Slightly, but it is kind of understandable. I mean, that is Disney's own entertainment expo.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's basically saying, okay, we're taking our comic book company away from a comic book convention to a Disney convention because they own our asses.
But they didn't take the company, they just took the movies.
Yeah.
Marvel Comics is still going to be there, it's just Marvel Movies is not going to have a panel.
Even still. I consider it more comic related than Disney related.
You know, though, it's not a move I can really argue with because all that's going to do is raise the profile of D23 Expo.
True.
And I'm sure that's what the end result was. You know, they weighed the idea of putting out a panel at Comic-Con, which is interesting, but in the end, you got to admit, it's kind of a slam dunk when it comes to marketing. That's the easy part. Doing it at the convention that might not usually have comic fans going to it, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So, I don't fault them for it. I'm with you. I'm disappointed that they may not be at Comic-Con, or they likely won't be at Comic-Con, but at the same time, I get the perspective. Last bit of Marvel media news I have is a doozy. Supposedly, Spoiler TV has the synopsis of AKA Jessica Jones. The Netflix series is supposed to follow up Daredevil later this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 major points that apparently need to be covered. Number 1 is that Jessica Jones in this series is not new. She's not putting on her superhero suit for the first time. She's trying to hang up the tights. According to the synopsis, quote, ever since her short-lived stint as a superhero ended in tragedy, Jessica Jones has been rebuilding her personal life and career as a hot-tempered, sardonic, badass private detective. Item number 2, she's in Hell's Kitchen. She's not just in the same city as Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil. They're in the same goddamn neighborhood of New York. Number 3, she has some major mental health issues. She doesn't have childhood trauma like most heroes that's haunting her to put on tights. She has some trauma that happened during her superhero attempt that's created self-loathing and a case of PTSD.
I wonder if they are going to keep the fact that she got raped.
Well, that's the other thing. Item number 4 is money. She's actually using her abilities as a with both powers and as a private detective to get a paycheck.
Nice.
So, I mean, the people who wrote this honestly didn't understand what was going on because under mental health, they said, quote, it seems Jessica's story might have some reminders of Iron Man 3. Audiences will remember that Tony Stark also developed PTSD at the end of the Avengers, unquote. Okay, obviously the writer doesn't read comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read PTSD and said, oh yeah, I saw that in this.
Yeah. Yeah, for those that are unaware and
Various
haven't listened
versions of it.
Yeah, for people who are not aware, Jessica Jones' story as a superhero is a sad one. She was hypnotized and raped by Kilgrave, a.k.a. the Purple Man.
Oh, shit.
That's what got her that's what got her out of superheroing. She just said, enough of this shit.
The Purple Man.
Yeah, who's being played by David Tennant, who's going to make Girly swoon.
Yeah, no, I'm like...
Yeah, I will.
The Purple Man is not a name that inspires fear, but what he does certainly can. I was not aware of his history. I heard about him way back when because a character of his that was supposed to be a daughter was a member of Alpha Flight. And somebody who just hypnotizes people, it's like, how many of those have we heard? There's like Mesbro and a few others that just didn't sound intimidating. Then the story about Jessica Jones came out, and like, that's freaky. Then he tried to do the same thing to both She-Hulk and Songbird, and that freaked me the fuck out. It's like, he didn't just try it once. He's a serial goddamn problem.
Yeah. Repeat rapist. Yeah, well, that
Serial
happens.
rapist is a thing.
Yeah. So, like I said, Purple Man doesn't sound intimidating. You see what he does? Fucking scary.
One-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
What?
You are goddamn disgusting. We are bouncing forward to DC media news. We'll talk about the property by the distinguished competition that is also moving off the comic book page into other forms of entertainment. First off is the news that, well, not news, I should say Digital Times managed to get a picture of what the 2 Batsuits are going to look like in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And it's an interesting image. I will send you guys a link to the image. One is the Frank Miller style Batsuit that we've seen in the trailer and a few promos. Mm-hmm. The other one is the Bat armor.
Again,
I don't know what other word to put to it.
Bat.
Seen in the Frank Miller's.
It's the armor we saw in the second half of the Batman v Superman trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was also in Frank Miller's version of Batman too.
What's with the stuff on his boots?
What, the fins?
Yeah.
Well, that's not new. Batman typically does have fins or spikes on his boots somewhere.
Yeah.
They're just not always obvious. Zack Snyder specifically asked the costume designer, Mikkel Wilkinson, to make sure that the Batsuit was flexible and Affleck could move his neck. That went for the armored version.
They learned from the first Nolan movie.
Or the first Burton film. Or all the Burton films. You know, still no nipples anywhere on this.
Thank God.
I mean, yeah, these are the character designs, and these aren't the actual suits. If they look similar to this, it's a good job.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen what the Frank Miller style suit looks like. We still haven't seen a full picture of what the bat armor looks like.
Again, the armor is from the Frank Miller comic.
Well, I know that, but it's just easier to describe the first suit as the Frank Miller suit, and the second suit is just the armor.
Yeah, okay.
Let me see. Also, when it comes to Batman v Superman, remember we saw the trailer and we had fun with it because someone did it in the form of Honest Trailers parody.
Yeah.
And then somebody else did it as the was it Adam West versus Christopher Reeve? You guys recall that?
Yes.
Yep.
I guess it didn't stop there. JTS Entertainment got their hands on the trailer, and they decided to do it in the style of Batman and Superman animated.
Oh, I need to see this.
Huh?
I need to see this.
You need to see this. No, that's the first time I've heard that one. Okay, I sent it. Those horns are just freaking obnoxious. DC logo. JTS Entertainment logo.
These dramatic developments, we asked the people of Metropolis how they felt about the Man of Steel.
If you ask me, the bum ought to go back where he came from.
This doesn't sound the same as the trailer.
Superman saved the world dozens of times. We owe him a second chance.
I got lucky this time.
It almost sounds like somebody cobbled together a new trailer, frankly.
One man should have that much.
I think they actually got some of the voice actors from those shows to redub it.
And now, because of
Actually, I think this is an original animation. This doesn't look like it was cut out of anything.
Yeah.
This stunning victory, some are warning that we must remain vigilant.
Some of us still believe in putting our country first.
vengeance blackens the soul, Bruce.
Interesting.
I always feared you.
I swear they
Is it
actually
just
got
me,
the
or does
original
this seem
voice
like-
actors.
Yeah, it seems
I'm
like
pretty
this
sure
would
they
be
did.
better than the movie.
I think they cut audio out of different episodes.
No way.
The animation looks relatively original, except in sections.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, this is starting to look like it would make a much better animated feature than a live film.
Right? This looks like
Yeah.
I'm much more entertained by this trailer than the live action one. Even though
Yeah.
I'm not generally like a big fan of animated movies, but
You know, they did animate the Frank Miller story.
I still haven't watched that yet. I haven't worked up the interest. That was kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. Far more entertaining than the original trailer.
Yeah, we will bounce forward into other news in DC media. First off, the Suicide Squad film. The city that movie is going to be based in, instead of being in any particular city in the U.S., will be another fictional city in the DC universe called Midway City. That's been confirmed by recent set pictures that have come out. That's one thing that always kind of pulls me out of DC media stories, is that whenever you tell me it's happening in Gotham or Metropolis, I'm already thinking, okay, very fake.
yeah. And then sometimes they pull a little bit from the real world. It's just like I wish they would have a more clear, like, this is why all the cities are different kind of thing.
Yeah. If they
This
would
is
actually
based
use-
off Chicago.
It would help a bit if they would actually say something like Metropolis, New York, or Gotham, New Jersey. Something to ground it a little bit more rather than leave it so open-ended as just the cities. It makes it seem like they're an island unto themselves.
A bunch of city-states, yeah.
Yeah. And we also have a few more pictures that seem to have come off the set from the Suicide Squad of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I was kind of moderate on the cast picture. These individual pictures of Robbie, I'm not digging them as much. I sent you guys a link so you could take a look instead of just feeding you individual pictures.
Yeah.
That T-shirt, it turns out what it says on it is Daddy's Little Monster.
Okay.
Yeah. And the back of the jacket, it says on it, you can see in the third picture, property of Joker.
I kind of dig her outfit. Well, except for the pants.
I'm actually having trouble with a lot of it, personally. I see that she has a holstered, it looks like a Magnum.
Oh,
I see the white handle sticking out under the blue.
Yep.
I have a few problems with this. It seems like they've taken all the subtle parts of Harley Quinn's costume and removed them and just kept a few loud bits. The hair is a little bright for my taste. The property of Joker jacket makes it look like she's a character in Grease 3.
Yeah. I like the general aesthetic, but you're right in that the individual things that they've chosen to do with it is not...
Yeah, and the weird part is, the thing that's breaking me on this costume, believe it or not, it's the boots.
Yeah,
when they look like just like, yeah, when they look like high top sneaker boots, I was okay with that. I believe that is something a weird little broken chick like Harley Quinn would use. The stiletto heels on them, you lost me.
Yeah,
you completely lost me on that because I find it hard to believe. She
would be in sneakers.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that somebody who's as athletic as Harley Quinn would bother with high heels.
Yeah.
Well, she is supposed to be crazy.
Yeah, but
crazy doesn't.
Yeah, crazy would be like barefoot, not.
Yeah, crazy does not equal inept.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think the more just took a really stripped down version of Harley Quinn. I mean, we would have to see the actual film to see what they actually did with her character, but on the visual standpoint, yeah, it seems more stripped down.
You could save half this costume by foregoing the booty shorts and just giving her a pair of pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a pair of jeans.
The booty shorts are just way too weird for this. So I feel like they're getting off on the wrong foot.
It's where she feels more at home in Vegas.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. She also looks like one of those cosplayers that people complain about trying too hard just on a sexual turn. I'm not digging myself. I have news that's going to make me happy but make other people upset. Constantine, remember the showrunner was talking about a meeting with NBC officials about possible pitches for season 2?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Apparently they said, that's enough, sir. They've officially canceled Constantine.
Really? Why?
Yeah, I watched, well, first of all, the ratings for it were not good. It started off strong, but it started lagging early. Me personally, I thought that the acting was a little subpar. And unfortunately, the big twist at the end of the season was telegraphed. The big twist was that the big bad, the unknown force that was driving demons to higher and higher escapades, was his angel handler who was working with the demons to try and end the Earth. And unfortunately, if you've ever watched the Constantine movie, just the Constantine movie, you'll see that coming a mile fuck away. However, that doesn't mean the series is entirely dead. It's currently being shopped around to cable networks right now, including Sci-Fi.
It might get better if it gets on Sci-Fi. It might get worse.
I know, Sci-Fi is not exactly known for quality. I'd almost say you'd have better luck if you could find a benevolent cable company like FX or AMC to pick it up so you can really start pushing the envelopes of acceptability.
Sci-Fi did
the Dune series.
The Dune series, Eureka,
I tuned out on that.
Warehouse 13, amongst some other things.
Did he do Fringe?
No, they rebroadcast it.
Okay.
Fringe was Fox. I just thought if you're going to do a twist in the Constantine series, it'd be really something if a demon came out of nowhere to save his life and help save the world. That would be weird. It might be a little bit too Buffy and Angel for people, but that would actually be a twist considering what he goes through. However, DC does have reasons to clap his hands because one of its more unlikely shows has been picked up for season 2. iZombie has been renewed.
Oh, good.
I've watched that show since it started. I didn't like it at the beginning, but it's grown on me. It's gotten better as it goes along. It's getting more complex.
That's good.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the actors brought back to Comic-Con now that it's turned into the darling that, the little darling that could. And CBS has announced that they are not picking up the pilot for Supergirl. because they picked up the entire season.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh.
Yep, they have an entire season order. So it looks like the trailer that's coming out on May 14th isn't going to be a "Do you want this series?" It's going to be "Here, have this series."
Oh, they must have been impressed with it.
Hopefully. When it comes to The Flash, though, that is definitely the biggest success I think DC has had when it comes to TV shows.
Yeah.
However, it also turns out that The Flash is going to be the gateway for the new spin-off show. Number one, the spin-off show, the one that's supposed to be of characters from both Arrow and Flash, is going to be called DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Well, at least they found a unique name to call it.
I wish it would be something a little more definitive. That seems kind of open-ended, but
yeah,
maybe there's meaning to that title in DC Comics I'm not aware of. However, it's also been announced that as of May 19th, in the season finale of Flash, several characters from this show are going to be making a debut. In this particular episode, you can expect to see Brandon Ruth as Ray Palmer or the Atom, Clara Renee as Hawk Girl, Arthur Darville as Rip Hunter, Katie Lotz, the first Black Canary in an unspecified role, Wentworth Miller as Captain Cold, Dominic Purcell as Heatwave, Victor Garber as Dr. Martin Stein, one half of Firestorm, and Franz Drame, the black kid we talked about last week. He's going to be a character called Jay Johnston. He's going to be an auto mechanic.
That could
and
be
he's
several things.
Well, he's also supposed to have some kind of affiliation to the Star Labs crew. So this is going to be the cast of Heroes of Tomorrow, or Legends of Tomorrow, excuse me, and they will debut as of the May 19th episode of The Flash. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I really can't find anything on the title or some of those characters thinking that this is completely original from the season.
It's not completely original. Although the majority of those characters, I know.
No, I'm talking about the title, the Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know I've seen some of these already, like Firestorm. I just got caught up on The Flash and Arrow this week.
I want to know what the role of Katie Lotz is going to be. Is she going to be the Black Canary run through a Lazarus pit, or is she going to be something entirely new? I have no idea. Also, when it comes to the media news, we talk about action figures sometimes. And we've also talked about, was it Square Enix and their Weird Play Arts Kai series. They tend to put out the bizarre, futuristic armored versions of superheroes.
Right.
Yep.
In this one, they've dialed it back a bit. They've decided to put out some promo pictures of their new Arkham Knight Harley Quinn.
Oh,
it's interesting. No, they didn't go outlandish armor. This is the Harley Quinn that will appear in the video game. Take a look. It's detailed.
See, this is a lot better.
Yeah.
You mean what, compared to the Suicide Squad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure where we were going with this.
Wait, is that bat serrated at one side? It is.
Yeah, it's serrated on the back end.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, that would definitely be a whacking.
It's slightly creepy to me that these figurines come with different hands.
I thought you'd say it'd be creepy that they came with different heads. Apparently, that's the acceptable part.
I don't know.
That and the hair.
Yeah. It came with heads, scalps, and hands. But as far as figures go, it's a good
weird plastic clear thing.
It is detailed, though. I like it. They put a lot of thought into the every little bit in this. But that's not the only figure that's being released soon. Hot Toys is coming out with a 1989 Batman, believe it or not.
Oh?
Yeah, you know Tim Burton's Batman, the one played by Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Take a look at the detail Hot Toys puts into this. They're the ones that come up with those $150 or $250 action figures.
Oh, wow.
It actually looks like Michael Keaton, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
Here's the scary part. There's actually a toggle in the head that allows you to move the eyes.
Oh, weird.
Because just like the movies, you can't move the head. I almost wonder if you're being a little too detailed if you can't move the head of the figure.
I was gonna say the eye gimmick thing. I've actually seen on some other toys. It's actually done by who the hell makes the Ninja Turtle toys?
Konami?
I don't know.
No, they did some interesting gimmick where they actually can make it so that the turtles' heads will actually have pupils, but if you do something with the bandana in the back of their head, you can turn it so they're all white.
Oh, I have no idea. But here's the thing. It comes in a twin pack. You don't just get Batman in that. You get a Bruce Wayne, too. Take a look at the detail on that head.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow.
Look at all the wrinkles.
And it comes with a special feature for the Batman figure. You can get damaged cowl Batman.
They got his eyebrows
Return.
right. There's something off about the eyes. As far as
They haven't sold out enough.
Hey now.
No, kidding, I'm kidding. Or maybe they just don't have that expression of you make me do Beetlejuice and now this shit. No, the damaged cowl Batman looks good.
Mm-hmm.
So I applaud Hot Toys. They always make great stuff. And, you know, as much as the Tim Burton Batman films don't hold up, it's hard to argue that these were the gateway to prove that superhero films could work.
Yeah.
You know, these were the films that definitely paved the way for everything else that came after it. It was just Joel Schumacher who nearly killed it with his ineptitude. I'm sorry, did that sound bitter?
Just a little.
No, it sounds all right.
I like that. Steve just says, yeah, it's a little bitter. And Jesse just says, no, that's dead on, man. All right, we'll bump into general media news. We'll talk about the nerdy TV and non-comic book projects that just happen to be geeky enough for us to get our feet wet or our feet into. First of all, we have, unfortunately, a rest in peace to issue.
Oh.
I'm familiar. V is the only person I expect to know this name off the top of her head. Grace Lee Whitney passed away.
Oh.
Steve and Jesse might recognize her from the original Star Trek series. She played Yeoman Rand.
Right, I saw that.
Oh, yeah, no, okay, that's the article I saw. Don't.
Yeah, she passed away this past May 4th. She was 85 when she passed. Can you believe she's as well known as she is for appearing in only 8 episodes of the original series?
It seems like she was in more than that.
That's because she had a problem with alcoholism while on the set, and so they had to fire her earlier than they intended, so they ended up mixing up her episodes in the first seasons. They were spaced out more.
Okay.
She actually looks like a younger version of my grandmother.
Yeah. It's like, I loved her character. I'm sad about how that turned out, but...
Well, she did officially get to reprise the role of Yeoman Rand in Star Trek The Motion Picture, Star Trek III The Search for Spock, Star Trek IV The Voyage Home, Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country, and Star Trek Voyager. She also reprised a role in unofficial Star Trek fan projects of Gods and Men and New Voyages Phase 2. She also worked as an advocate for people struggling with substance abuse. She credits her recovery to Star Trek fans. Quote, "When I told the fans I was an alcoholic, they all applauded. When I told them I had given myself to a higher power, they cheered again. I'm in a great place because I've gone full circle," unquote.
Aw, I'm tearing up.
She also had TV roles on Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp, The Real McCoys, The Outer Limit, Batman, and Bewitched. She also served as the inspiration of the Chicken of the Sea Mermaid.
Really?
Yeah. When she died, William Shatner tweeted, "Condolences to the family of Grace. She was a constant shining smile over the years every time our paths crossed." So, goddamn, there is not many of the original crew left. I mean, there's Shatner, there's Walter Koenig, there's
George Takei.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all I could think was
Nichelle Nichols is still alive, right?
Yeah. Every time I think of every time I think of Takei, all I can hear is hello.
Yeah, and I think some of the lesser actors are still alive too.
Yeah, but I mean, only half of the main cast.
How
is
sad is it
actually
going to be
still
if the red shirt outlives them all?
Technically, that'd be Nichelle Nichols too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But she doesn't count.
She doesn't count.
She doesn't count because she's, a bridge officer. A red shirt is someone that's not a bridge officer, and wears a red shirt.
Okay, we can debate that later.
Well, that is actually true because Chekhov was also a red shirt. Or no, he was a yellow shirt.
Gold.
He was yellow. Yeah, that's right.
I cannot even believe we're going to have this conversation now.
Hey, you brought 4 nerds to this.
Yeah, we're going to push forward before we get stuck and mired in the bodies of red shirts. I have been watching the PSN original series Powers. It is based on a comic book that came out quite a while ago. The first season was 10 episodes long and finished recently. It's already been renewed for season 2.
Nice.
However, it's going to go on without his showrunner. Charlie Huston has revealed on his website that he's leaving the show. He released a statement that says, quote, "These kinds of changes are common in TV, and it's usually based on several factors. But this one boils down to the old saw creative differences. As the show changes creatively, it will require some changes in personnel," unquote. The series is a very interesting tale. Superheroes and powered people are a relatively common occurrence in this version of the world. So much that the police has its own powers division. That's where the show derives its name from. Except the lead character, one of the lead detectives in the powers division, is a former power who lost all of his abilities. So the show's a combination of regular people trying to deal with superpowered people, and the lead character, this guy named Christian Walker, a.k.a. Diamond, who's trying to deal with the fact that he is no longer one of these special people.
This sounds very interesting, actually.
Oh, it was gritty. It was dark. I don't remember his name. The guy who played Murdoch in the A-Team and one of the lead characters in Asylum plays Christian Walker. And what really got me was one of the primary antagonists, this malevolent character named Wolf, was played by Eddie Izzard.
Sergeant,
no, he... yeah, you got that right. Eddie Izzard, you laugh, but he played the role in that slow-speaking, very smooth style, the one that makes you think, there's no way this guy could kill me, but every word he utters makes it sound like he's just about to kill you. He really played it smooth. And if you know Eddie Izzard's works, that's not usually the way he delivers things.
No.
But I watched the show, and even though I was a little disgusted and, just really shocked by the level of violence in some of it, it was a very entertaining show, I thought. It's also been confirmed that, the second Star Wars anthology film after Rogue One was being worked on?
Yeah.
According to the Wrap, the story is going to be an origin story for Star Wars' favorite bounty hunter, Boba Fett. This is the same untitled film that Josh Trank recently exited for unknown but rumored reasons. So currently this project doesn't have a director attached to it. According to Epic Stream, it may have been confirmed also that Max von Sydow may be confirmed as an older version of Boba Fett himself.
Could be interesting.
Yeah, this is from the same source who confirmed that Kylo Ren is being played by actor Adam Driver in Star Wars Episode 7, so this may actually have some weight behind it. The site went on to say that his identity is concealed by cybernetic modification and that he won't be wearing the Mandalorian armor until his true identity is revealed. The cybernetics are supposedly due to damage done by the body of the Sarlacc.
I believe that. I'll buy that.
Well, take it all as rumor until we know more.
Yep.
Don't want to just start throwing shit out there and have people come back and say, "You lied, you don't know Star Wars."
Don't walk into me with certain expectations, you might get dashed.
It's not an X-Wing, it's a headhunter. Let's see. There's a report that Josh Trank was fired when it comes to the Star Wars anthology film. Trank called it a personal decision, according to his statement, and refers to plans to move forward with a different path. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Trank was described on the set of Fantastic Four as erratic and unclear, which led to challenges when it came to finishing the film. Somebody reportedly on that production said, quote, "If you've got someone who can't answer questions or who isn't sure or is in hiding, that's not good," unquote.
Ooh, yeah.
So, again, this is still unfortunately relative rumor, but if enough people say it, you move from rumor into very likely.
Yeah.
One insider was quoted by The Hollywood Reporter as saying, quote, "No question, there's talent there. You can't do Chronicle by accident." But Trank seemed like one of those kids who comes to the NBA with all the talent and none of the character-based skills to handle it. There's equipment he doesn't have yet, unquote. An unnamed spokesperson for Fox told The Hollywood Reporter that the studio is, quote, "very happy with the movie when it comes to the Fantastic Four, but they do acknowledge some bumps on the road," unquote.
Such as?
I doubt they're going to say. You don't want to start doling out negative rumors on a movie just before its release. I mean, Fantastic Four comes out in August.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yeah, I doubt all this information is what they wanted to come out. Vanity Fair did visit the set of The Force Awakens. They revealed that Adam Driver is playing Kylo Ren, the villain that holds the cross-section lightsaber. Lupita Nyong'o was confirmed to play a fully CGI pirate named Maz Kanata. There is no image as to what she may look like, as far as I know, but there is a collage photo of the pirate castle where she will be a part of it. And, you know, considering how much CGI is likely here, there is no way I could pick out who she's supposed to be in this cast. I can show you guys the image, but it's not a big image.
I got something from IGN.
You can take a look from that. You guys have seen the cover of Vanity Fair?
Maybe?
No.
This is going to be a Star Wars wet dream, and people are going to frame this. Take a look at this. It involves both old and new characters in it. That's the kind of stuff you just immediately put on a wall, frankly.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool.
I even like Harrison Ford wearing that weather jacket. However, do you think he's sitting there in that cockpit thinking, this fucking thing broke my leg? It's a good picture, though. I can't fault him for it. Oh, is that supposed to be Nangyo's character?
Yep. Found out
That's
at
ugly.
the end.
Wow, that's ugly as sin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want to stare at that during a movie. I mean, there are rumors that during the course of the film, you'll find out that Jar Jar Binks is dead or dies. I mean, that will just make cheer.
Waiting for all the theater goers to cheer for that one.
Yeah, but that's just rumor for right now. So take that with a grain of salt until you actually see that bastard burn. We do have a little bit of Doctor Who news to go with everything going on. There's actually 2 confirmed returns for the next season. In episode season 8, Gemma Redgrave is coming back as Captain Kate Stewart of the secretive organization that keeps helping out the Doctor. V, what's it called? I forget the name of it.
Damn it. I can't remember. Heaven?
It was 3-letter. Unit.
Unit. Oh, yeah. Sorry, that was a little too vague. It didn't trigger my banks.
I retained my nerd card. Yeah, Gemma Redgrave is coming back as Captain Kate Stewart. And, as a surprise, there's 2 other sets of returns that's coming. In an upcoming episode, the Zygons are returning.
I don't remember.
Do you remember the freaky lizard people that were in a particular episode of The Doctor? I think it was the name of the Doctor. They were replacing people within Unit.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Well, the odd part of that news, in the same episode, Unit scientist and fangirl Osgood is returning. She was vaporized at the end of the last season.
That's interesting.
You remember her, the goofy one with the glasses and the Tom Baker scarf around her neck?
Yeah. I would like to see her again.
She was vaporized by the Mistress.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pointed out that it's a time travel series. Goodness knows you could encounter her before her death. However, I think fans are looking for a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And considering the Zygons are coming back in one copied her, it could be that we find out that the one that died may not have been actual Osgood, or the one that survived may be the lizard Osgood. We don't know. So many possibilities.
Time travel.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
Time travel's always been a migraine.
Say the rest of it.
I don't remember the rest of it because it's wibbly-wobbly.
Okay, Steve and Jesse will probably know about the Revoltech line by Kyoto more than V would.
Oh, yeah.
They create some very detailed, usually figures with alternative parts. Small ones, you can generally get them for about $20 to $25. The more collectible ones are about $60.
Yeah.
I kind of expect these 2 particular Revoltech toys to be much more expensive, and I also expect V would like to get her hands on both of them, because they're not action figures. They're vehicles. It's the first time I recall Revoltech working on vehicles.
Oh, I want that.
They're actually coming out with detailed versions of the original 1977 Star Wars X-Wing and the 1984 DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Oh, 2. I kind of want the DeLorean.
No, that one came out first, if you remember, in the original one.
Yeah, but they're going to treat it as Back to the Future 2 to avoid paying royalties to one actor. didn't do the other two.
No, okay.
That's lame.
Both of these are very interesting, though. I like the fact that the pilot of the X-Wing is removable. And so is the R2-D2 unit.
I want the DeLorean.
They're both really cool. They come with the parts and make it look like they're flying. You can have the ailerons open or close on the X-Wing. These are really nifty.
You have the fire trails for the DeLorean as well.
Yeah. I'm not a heavy fan of either one, but I kind of want both.
I really like Back to the Future. It's probably in my top 20, if not my top 10.
It's high up there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those timeless movies, and it's not one that can be easily rebooted, because there's no way you can replicate the magic of Michael J. Fox and, God, what's his name?
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd, thank you. The on-screen chemistry between the two of them. Non-sexual, you freaks, but the chemistry was fun.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no way you could actually replace the DeLorean.
Yeah. And it's not like you can ask Michael J. Fox to film a current one. The way he shakes, he'd drive it into a wall.
Yeah.
Nothing?
Too soon, man. Too soon.
Okay, I expected somebody to at least chastise me.
Bad, Jeremy. Bad.
Okay. Last bit of general media news I have was what I would call the most unlikely news of the week, but the one that puts the biggest smile on my face. Gallivant has been renewed for season 2.
Yes. Gallivant.
I am really surprised I don't hear more people talking about this online. The show is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious.
It is fucking hilarious.
And it didn't even get strong ratings. It got like a 1.2 when it ended last season, but ABC and its studio execs are really behind the series.
Well, I think the reason why it's not being talked about more is because of that 1.2, but I think people are idiots.
I think people are idiots also. It is brilliant.
Yeah, it's strong. As far as parodies come up, I would put it up there with, like, Mel Brooks with The Princess
Bride.
Exactly.
I got such a Mel Brooks feel from that show.
Yeah. And the best synopsis I could give it is, it's the end of The Princess Bride, where instead of going home with romance, the princess decided to stay and marry the king.
Right. Yep. That's my favorite bit. I actually really like her. Like, I don't want to be her friend, but I admire her sheer force of selfishness.
She's a self-assured witch.
She just gives into it. Just goes for it.
Yeah. That one scene where she's singing to herself and the multiple reflections, I thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
From there, we'll move into Marvel comic news. I only have one story because Secret Wars has begun, so that means the Marvel Universe has been broken down, and they're not going to release a lot of spoilers. They are very good about keeping secrets until it's too late.
Unlike DC.
I wasn't going to go there, but fine.
You were thinking it.
I get email about DC bashing. There's only one bit of Marvel news that's come out, and they've made it official this week. In the latest issue of Uncanny Avengers, the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, mutants no more.
Okay.
They're not Inhumans either.
So what are they?
What are they?
They are failed experiments of the High Evolutionary.
Ooh.
Oh.
He grabbed them from their human parents, tweaked their DNA, didn't work out how he wanted it, so he just put them back.
Wow. So it's a tie-in with 2099 Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, the latest volume of Uncanny Avengers was nowhere near as good as the prior one. However, I would, if it wasn't for Secret Wars, I'd love to see how this develops, because a character as egotistical as Quicksilver, I would love to see how he deals with no longer being a prince among mutants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let alone, you have somebody who's already mentally as damaged as the Scarlet Witch with the ability to bend reality, who has just found out that her entire history is a lie. Oh no.
We're going to get House of Men except to, level 11.
Yeah, what we need is a therapist right now, because this could be an entire case study.
Xavier's dead, so...
Yeah, well,
so
let's hope that the Red Skull doesn't get it in his head to go do something.
Oh, not again. Like I said, that's the only piece of Marvel comic news, and we got a couple pieces of DC comic news. First up is that the free comic book day passed this prior weekend on May 2nd, and DC handed out for free comic book day an issue of Divergence, which set up the June debuts of the post-Convergence Superman, Batman, and the Justice League. If for Superman, his secret identity is no longer a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Clark is having trouble living with his new public image as readers have shown that villains try to attack him even when he's just having lunch with Jimmy Olsen.
Wow.
As we already know, Batman is now some kind of armored police knight. They still haven't said officially who it is, but the current rumor is that it's Jim Gordon himself, who was deposed as commissioner but still looking to make a difference on the police force. Actually, as of Free Comic Book Day, it's revealed it is Jim Gordon in that suit.
Cool.
He actually goes on record telling Commissioner Powers that he, quote, like to go on record as saying this is the dumbest idea in the history of Gotham City, unquote.
Gotham City's done a lot of dumb things.
Touché, sir.
Arkham Asylum, prime example?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as the Justice League section of Divergence, that may have the biggest reveal among all the stories here. It was revealed in that part of the issue that Darkseid's daughter may be half New God. In other words, it's definitely his daughter. She's half Amazon, though.
Who did Darkseid rape?
I have no freaking clue, because I imagine whoever he came near wasn't standing still.
Mm.
Do you think his penis is barbed?
No. I don't want to think.
Oh, wait. Her mother is named Myrina. She killed other Amazons to keep the child a secret. The name of Darkseid's daughter, kind of fitting when you consider what he is, her name is Grail. Myrina was the first Amazon to leave Themyscira. She left it before Wonder Woman did. Wow. An Amazonian new god. That must be crazy powerful. That may be the first interesting story I've heard out of DC in quite a while.
Now we'll see how they handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, you just scared me all of a sudden. Last bit of DC comic news that I have is that James Whitbrook on IO9 was nice enough to break down all of the characters in the recent team photo of Suicide Squad, and he listed their comic book history so everybody could become aware as to who these characters are. Remember that character on the far left we couldn't identify? Mm-hmm. He's a character I've never even heard of before in DC called Slipknot. He has a mastery of ropes and is a trained assassin. Sounds like he belongs in the book 50 Shades of Grey. He first appeared in Fury of Firestorm 28 in 1984. His history is, quote, Christopher Weiss was originally an enemy of Firestorm and a member of the 2000 Committee, a villain team that had the oddly specific target of taking over the world by the year 2000. Suffice to say, the team is disbanded. However, after an attempt to kill Firestorm, Slipknot was defeated by the hero and sent to prison, presumably because his only real abilities were that he crafted a formula for unbreakable ropes, which Slipknot used to strangle his targets. He came to the attention of the Suicide Squad while he was in jail during the 1988 crossover event Millennium, joining them for the first time to take out the base of evil alien robots called Manhunters. During the mission, realizing that his unbreakable ropes were of little use fighting Manhunters, Weiss attempted to flee the squad, but a bomb armband he was attached to, designed to ensure that less trustworthy members of the squad didn't run away while on a mission, exploded, taking his left arm with it, effectively ending his career as an assassin, unquote. There you go. That's the Mystery Man. The rest of the characters on the Suicide Squad are characters we're more familiar with. Captain Boomerang. The Enchantress I'm not familiar with. Should I fill us in on her?
Sure.
Okay. A practitioner of magic. First appearance was in Strange Adventures 187 back in 1966. Quote, June Moore was originally a hero, a freelance artist who gained her powers after attending a fancy dress party at a castle where a magical entity granted her the ability to turn into the Enchantress and cast magic. June used her powers to defeat several magical foes, but shortly after her heroic introduction, turned villainous after fighting Supergirl in an attempt to gain omnipotent magical power. Enchantress became a member of the Suicide Squad early on during John Ostrander's post-Crisis on Infinite Earth series, and one of its most powerful members. Eventually, June discovers that the Enchantress persona is actually an evil entity from an alternate dimension, which is ripped out of her by a demon, depowering her and leaving her mentally scarred. June would eventually be reconnected with the Enchantress persona and became a hero again, primarily dealing with mystical threats, first with the magic-based team Shadow Pact, and then the Justice League Dark in the New 52, unquote. She actually has a more interesting history than half the DC heroes I've heard of. Let's see, we have Katana, who we are aware of, Rick Flag Jr., Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Killer Croc, and El Diablo. Any others you need filled in on before we move on?
El Diablo.
Okay, El Diablo first appeared in El Diablo Volume 3, Number 1 in 2008. His power is pyrokinesis. Quote, Chado Santana is not the first person to take on the El Diablo name. 2 previous El Diablos, Lazarus Lane and Rafael Sandoval, were heroes. Lane was an old Western hero who, after being struck by lightning, developed the uncanny power to cheat death. Wow. And Sandoval took on the Black Mask identity to defend the town of Dos Rios, where he was also a city councilor. Santana has no connections to either Lane or Sandoval. An ex-gangster who has the power of pyrokinesis, Santana once accidentally burned down the apartment building of some local gangsters. Discovering that innocent women and children perished in the blaze and guilt-stricken, Santana turned himself into the police. Once incarcerated and placed on death row, Chado was forcibly recruited by Amanda Waller into the Suicide Squad to make use of his powers for her missions.
So is Amanda Waller going to figure?
Yeah, she's already been cast in the film.
Okay.
You know,
Amanda Waller, typically in comics, has always run the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, one of these days I'd like to see the Suicide Squad's mission be to take her ass out.
You know, listening to Slipknot's history and his relationship with the Suicide Squad, it kind of felt like he was the red shirt of the group.
Oh, he's definitely the red shirt of this crew. They expect... Now, remember, the synopsis we've all heard is that the squad is being deployed sometime during the movie to take out the Joker. You think out of all the people on this team, Slipknot is not the most obvious one to be hung by his own rope?
Joker's gonna do it.
I'd almost say if that happens, frick it, we called it early.
Yeah, well, and here's my question, though. If it's seriously them going after the Joker, why the fuck is Harley Quinn even on this team?
I have no idea.
Well,
She'd
there
be
are
the
some
one
parts in her.
never see her.
There's some parts in her comic career where she actually did hate the Joker.
Understandable, but
then why is she wearing Owned by the Joker and Daddy's Little Monster shit?
Yeah, her entire persona is based on her love of the Joker. Whether she loves him or hate him, she's never gotten out of it. So the logical choice is never trust her around him, ever. Because even if she hates him at that moment, she just as likely shoot you to get to him.
She might be just as narcissistic. That's why she doesn't get rid of it. Like, she wants the Joker to see it coming.
That's why I'm with Steve. If you know you're going after the Joker, you lock her up and leave her there until you're done. Don't even talk to her.
Unfortunately, you need someone as crazy as the Joker to figure out how he moves.
The sad part
you don't.
Yeah, Batman's not as crazy, but he figures it out.
Well, then she goes after him.
Yeah, but this crew isn't even half as smart as Batman, and they're the ones tracking him down, and you can bet by the end of the movie they're going to confront him, so obviously they're smart enough. I don't see a genius among this crew.
Harley Quinn's the closest they got. I'm not saying because
she was
crazy.
A doctor. Yeah, no, she was
psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist, yep.
Yeah, and I would also say they aren't necessarily geniuses. They're good at memorization. But the weirdest part is, though, after reading the synopses, there are certain members of the Suicide Squad who seem much more interesting than the others, and they're the ones I've never heard of before.
That's disappointing, yeah.
A bit. Okay, we'll move on into general comic and convention news, because sometimes interesting comic book news doesn't just have to do with Marvel and DC. Obviously, Comic-Con is approaching fast. 8 weeks until this giant-size juggernaut jumps into San Diego. And as we expected, more and more news is coming out about convention exclusives, including by Mezco, which has announced a new Mortal Kombat X exclusive action figure. They're doing the Sub-Zero Ice clone. It's going to be available for pre-order as of May 12th, only at MezcoToys.com. And I gotta admit, I am not much into Mortal Kombat. This action figure, obviously it's just clear acrylic plastic, but it looks pretty cool. I sent you guys the link so you can take a look. This would be a hell of a compliment to a Sub-Zero action figure, actually. It's very rare that you get a clear action figure that manages to retain the detail, and this one does very well.
Well, it's also, I think, only to say that, the ice itself is not perfectly clear, so it actually lends to that.
Yeah. But it's just often one of those times when they remold something, they often let details go. They just don't seem to care about imperfections in the mold. In this case, it looks like they really worried about it.
Or they got interchangeable components. Looks like
I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely does. But he's got hands holding ice daggers, and he got open hand holding a ball of ice.
Yeah. Well, let me see. There's also some early access pre-orders to Mattel's pre-order exclusives for Comic-Con. They have 2 pre-order exclusives in particular. One is the Egon Spengler at Trial Ghostbusters action figure. The scene from Ghostbusters 2 where they've been arrested for mischief. The Egon Spengler in a suit, complete with a proton pack and some kind of meter, is there. And you also have 2 Eternia action figures, believe it or not, from Masters of the Universe. Oh yeah, remember the ones that twisted at the waist? They spun in a circle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the figures of Rotar and Twistoid will be available as a 2-pack.
The names are so awful.
Oh yeah.
The transforming rock. I think I still have that.
That was GoBots.
No. They had a
Rock
He-Man.
Lords.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was like 3 of them, I think.
Well, how about this? There's actually synopses here. A former Palace Guard wounded in battle, Rotar was merged with an android body, resulting in his fists of fury, fueled by his hyper spin powers. He now protects Eternia as one of the Masters of the Universe.
Fists of fury, really?
Yes. Rotar's nemesis, Twistoid, is a gyro robot who serves Skeletor. Using super spinning action, Twistoid wields a ball and chain and whirling sword and terror gears to defeat his enemies.
It's the 80s.
Fists of fury fueled by hyper spin powers. Great. All washing machines fear me.
Or you can be a souped up Zangief.
Yeah. CineQuest is also having some 2015 exclusives for Comic-Con. They've announced some Supernatural exclusives, it looks like. They'll have an exclusive Supernatural Comic-Con t-shirt featuring Sam and Dean. You can get it for $25. You can also purchase for $24.99 some kind of special die-cast variant of the 1967 Chevy Impala they used during the series.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. Pretty soon there's going to be a list of stuff people are going to be looking for. In regards to Comic-Con, there was also an announcement that we've kind of been waiting for. Con Man is definitely going to be there.
Nice.
According to a tweet that was sent on at Con Man series, it says, quote, "We are setting up panels for both San Diego Comic-Con and Nerd HQ this year. # Con Man." So it is definitely going to be there. I don't know how hard it's going to be to get in, because although it's well funded, it's still a matter of those particular people being the ones that make it to Comic-Con. It's not like I hear a lot about this project outside of what few circles discuss it.
So they're going to have panels at both the Comic-Con and Nerd HQ?
Yeah, both going on that weekend. So that means there's 2 chances for us to figure out if we can make it there. And besides which, if Con Man's going to be there, at the very least, Alan Tudyk's going to be there, if not both Tudyk and Fillon.
Nathan Fillion is very fond of conventions.
He's very fond of engaging fans and making fun of us.
Yes, and making fun of himself.
Yeah. However, we do have a little bit of bad news when it comes to Comic-Con. The San Diego Convention Center decided to default on a last payment of land that was meant for the original expansion project that was hit with some difficulties as of last year. That puts the expansion of the Hilton Bayfront Hotel in jeopardy, and they're looking for alternatives right now as to how to expand the convention center. It doesn't mean that the expansion itself is dead, but they're still looking for ways to get it done, and unfortunately the hotel tax that was proposed to pay for it was found to be unconstitutional by challengers, so they had to abandon it entirely.
Right.
So there's definitely going to be some challenges about getting this going. There's an interesting new original comic coming out called Oh Kill Strike, and it's one that harkens to the days that Steve and I collected comic books. A 90s extreme comic character is literally jumping off the page to fight his enemies in the real life of this comic book. It's being written by musician Max Burness of Say Anything and is being done by artist Logan Favreau. Oh Kill Strike follows a string of comics Burness has done with Boom Studios, but this one sees the rock frontman looking for something more lighthearted than his previous works of Polarity or Evil Empire. The premise is your favorite comic book character from the extreme 90s, from your childhood, coming back in real life. The image is...
Yeah.
No, think Youngblood, Bloodstrike, and anything else Rob Liefeld has done. I can send you an image of one of the promo pictures and covers, and I think you'll understand where I'm coming from with this.
No, I'm saying the premise sounds like Last Action Hero.
It would be, except 90s comic book characters were much more muscle-bound and dangerous than that.
Yeah.
You know, we are talking about the era that came up with such interesting names like Youngblood, Bloodpool, and Bloodstrike. Okay, last piece of general comic book news I have is that Fight Club isn't just getting a sequel. Its sequel is going to be in comic book form.
Really?
Yeah, the original writer of Fight Club, Chuck Palahniuk, he's not working on a second book for Fight Club. He's working on a comic book follow-up via Dark Horse Comics.
Huh.
Okay.
And not only that, artists have lined up to do all kinds of alternative covers for the number ones. I sent you guys the link because it'd be too cumbersome to send you it everything, but there is a host of about, it looks like 6 or 8 alternative covers just to number 1 by different artists. And again, the original writer of Fight Club is the one that's returning to write this comic book sequel. That's pretty cool, actually. I'm not sure it's a story that needs a sequel.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if the plot from the book is the same as the movie.
I'm not 100% sure about that myself. The movie was weird enough.
But I could see the movie having a sequel, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that. I'd agree with that statement.
Like the cover with the pill bottles.
I know, that was the one that got me the most interested. Maybe he just got off his pills and all of a sudden Tyler Durden is back.
He blew his brains out.
Oh, he put a gun through his cheek and jaw. He didn't blow his brains out. Okay, it's time for anime and Japan news. We are mostly anime fans in this room, so we like to talk somewhat about the interesting items that come from across the Pacific Ocean. There's not a whole lot, and unfortunately, a lot of it seems to veer into WTF category of news. First off, Osaka has a neighborhood in Nipponbashi. They call it Geek Street. It's where a lot of the nerdy, the nerdier aspects of life are fulfilled.
Uh-huh.
Well, on May 8th, the street had to be shut down for a few hours due to a rather unusual problem. That problem was a bomb. And no, that problem was not one of the, guys with a vest types of problems. This was a bomb that dated back to the 1940s.
Whoa.
Okay.
An old bomb.
Yeah, construction workers in March discovered the one-ton bomb in Nipponbashi. Also in the Geek Street area, also known as Den Town. The bomb is American-made and dates back to World War II. Bombs that haven't gone off are still found all over Japan.
Huh.
A lot of Nipponbashi was hit during 1945 air raids. And the area is rather densely packed with buildings and people. So on May 8th, the street was temporarily closed from 7:30 a.m. so Japan's Self-Defense Force could begin removing the bomb at 8 a.m. And I'm going to assume everything went to plan because I haven't heard about any sudden explosions in the same area.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything in the news yet.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they managed to get it out of there without too much difficulty.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about anything bad happening like that. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, though, sometimes the hobbies that Japanese people have, or I should say the hobbies that Japanese people have, can be awfully weird. Just like any other society, sometimes things lean on the sexual and fetishes come up and everything. And the Japanese are makers of ona holes, masturbation devices made for men that look a lot like people's vaginas. The reason I normally don't talk about them when they come up in the news because they're a dime a dozen item. There's a lot of different types of ona holes out there. This one, however, made me tilt my head to the side like a dog you just told, I might have treats, but you have to sit there. Because this one has to do with tentacles.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, not exactly. Arrow manufacturer Tama Toys made the Tentacle Vagina Girl. I sent you guys a link so you can take a look. Basically, it's an Ona hole in the shape of what looks to be a bunch of tentacles wound together.
I'm afraid.
And this is the type of thing that just really makes me question what the hell, guys. I mean, seriously. I'm serious. You can take a look because I've heard of the fetish. I don't get it. And this is just one of those things that really makes me scratch my head to the point where I no longer wonder why I'm bald.
Oh, this shit makes me laugh.
This
is just, it's bizarre from top to bottom.
Oh my god, this is so weird.
And I mean that literally.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of, I'm a male, so that means I have a lot of strange inclinations as to where to put my penis. This does not come up on that list. Not ever.
This? No.
Yeah, ooh, you're really pushing the edges of my weirdness, and I'm a weird person. I couldn't even There is no time I can ever recall where the idea of putting my penis in a tentacle sounds interesting.
Nope.
That usually sounds like a reason to lose a penis, frankly.
Yeah, that makes more sense for women than for men.
I don't even want to get into that conversation. Last bit of anime in Japan news I have is another one of those interesting ones, because we've heard of Atasha cars. Those are the cards that have the vinyl or paint on them, so there's anime characters sprawled all over the side or on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new fad from Nico Chogaigi. Ita toilets.
What? Well, at the same time, I suppose that doesn't surprise me so much.
Yeah, but I mean, I can appreciate having a hobby, but this is literally one where you shit all over your hobby. You can take a look. I sent you the link. It's not like they're sprawled with sexual versions of women, but they are toilets that have interesting images and prints all over them. It's not something I ever imagine putting in a bathroom, frankly.
No.
Yeah, no, that's...
And the worst part is, there are fans that not only would want this toilet, but they would talk to it every time they take a crap.
I don't understand this obsession with decorating your...
The old dude in the Sailor Fuku. Awesome.
Everything.
Yeah, this is... That's one of the few times I would feel nervous about sitting on the toilet, frankly. Let alone the rim of the seat lined with small characters. That means I'm putting my ass on all of this.
Yeah, when what you're pooping into is staring back at you, it's a little unnerving.
Yeah. Let alone if you're standing...
that's like the urinals that somebody ended up painting women looking down with like shocked expressions or, and so forth inside inside that one bathroom.
Yeah, there was one bar in England, I think they refashioned their urinals to look like women's mouths with their tongues hanging out.
Yeah, I remember that too. And then there was that one episode of Bar Rescue where they put the video game in where you were like putting out fires by pissing on the thing.
Yeah, that's a Japanese thing. I remember that.
Well, they put it into an American one.
Yeah, not my first choice, especially with a bunch of drunk people. I'm not bringing all this up just to say that only the Japanese are weird. I mean, obviously there's a market for this outside the country as well. It's just, it is two items back to back that really just, I don't understand. I just don't get it. So we'll just go ahead and move on to nerd interest news. We'll talk about those nerdy projects that aren't media related, but are still interesting enough to talk about. There's a designer called Benjamin Nordsmark. He created a glass table, that would be an instant conversation piece in just about any house any of us would be sitting in. I'm sorry?
Pictures?
I only have one picture to send you at the moment because the rest of it is a video that I have not seen as of yet. It's called a labyrinth table. Here it is, take a look. It's not much to see from that little view, but what he's basically done is created a wooden maze table that has 4 or 5 figurines into it, and these figurines can be moved by small but powerful magnets.
Nice.
So you can have your own little Adventure of the Minotaur type item, or you can really piss off whoever you're playing D&D with because somebody's going, okay, I moved 3 squares, and somebody else is going, get your book off my square.
No, this is the Fog of War.
Well, I have a video. It is about a minute 15 long. Do we dare?
Sure.
I sent it. And the creepy music is almost the kind of thing you expect at the start of a horror trailer. So this is the full breadth of the table. That's obviously the middle section there. And as you can see, because of the magnets, you can move the little figurines all over this labyrinth.
So cool.
I'm actually curious how that system works.
I wonder if there's no...
They're magnets. How is it that hard to understand?
I'm pretty sure he's doing something underneath. Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, magnets are not that hard to understand.
No, I was saying I wasn't sure if there was someone underneath one moving the magnet or they're using a system of controls on the edge, like an etch.
It's a bunch of sentient hamsters that are moving the figures for you. What are you talking about?
You don't even need, like, the maze thing. You could just have this be, like, what you were just talking about, Jeremy. Squares on the table. In fact, now I want to make this.
It should be easy enough to do, to be honest.
It really should, like, without the like, I'm impressed with the labyrinth thing, but without the labyrinth thing, that would be super easy.
I mean, the most difficult thing will probably get in the glass top.
I would say the most difficult thing would be keeping pizza grease off your table.
Would you need the glass top?
Yeah. No.
It would be preferable, though, because to just have this sitting in the middle of the room without it means you have no place to rest anything else. However, again, we're talking nerds here, so you'll need something that can stand up to both pizza grease, soda, and bodily fluids. Further on in nerd interest news, how many people here have played Witcher?
I've played a little.
I have not.
Seen it played. Seen playthroughs.
I'm considering getting the third one, though.
Okay, does anybody know the character from the series called Geralt?
No.
Yeah.
Geralt?
Yeah. Old
apparently
guy with white hair. Primary protagonist.
Okay. There is a cosplayer named Ailerin who decided to do a gender bend cosplay, who is apparently wagging a few tongues on the internet. Uh-oh. Take a look at these. No, it's a non-sexual cosplay. She's in full armor and she's in makeup.
That's not bad.
I like it.
Looks like she spent the money to get some metal swords in her hands, too. That is really detailed.
Just don't take it to certain conventions.
Yeah, and be careful when you ask her out.
Why not take it to certain conventions?
Live steel's not allowed.
Oh, the steel, right.
Man, that's definitely authentic chainmail. Somebody spent time putting that together.
Yeah.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. I like it. There is a new study that came out from the General Social Survey about people's sexual attitudes. According to Throb.com, most young Americans these days think of premarital sex as no big deal.
Gee, who'd have thunk?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that everybody talks about, but nobody seems to understand that it is a more pervasive attitude that a lot of people just don't wait for marriage when it comes to having sex. According to the article over at Time, quote, over the last 8 years, acceptance of premarital sex has moved from a minority position to a majority position, with 58% of respondents in 2012 saying they thought that there was nothing wrong with sex before marriage, compared to 44% in 2004. According to a new study of over 33,000 people published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, over the 35 years before that, acceptance had gradually increased. 28% thought premarital sex was okay in 1972, then 38% in 1978, then 41% in 1982. As the acceptance for premarital sex has increased, so has tolerance for homosexuality. In 1973, 11% of people believed gay sex was not wrong, but by 2012, that number had quadrupled to 44%, unquote. So it's more of a generational thing than just a general shift in attitude.
Yeah.
You know, more people have grown up okay with the idea of sex before marriage. I wonder what, I was going to say I wonder what religious fundamentalists believe, but then again, that's a self-explanatory question.
I could ask my mother, but I don't want to.
Dare.
I already got into an argument with her yesterday. No way.
Well, China is starting to make a shift into zero-labor factories.
Ooh, this should be interesting. Robots?
Yeah, a company in South China's Guangdong province is building the first zero-labor factory in an effort to address worker shortages and rising labor costs. But this could be a sign of things to come both in larger China and elsewhere in the world. I mean, if you've got robots that are now assembling most of your manufacturing goods, there's a large swath of the populace that's going to be out of jobs.
And now we have a revolution coming.
I wouldn't say a revolution. It could just be rampant unemployment and education issues.
Or we might shift to a more entertainment-based society.
I mean, we're not there yet.
Completely.
According to China Daily, private company Everwin Precisions Technology Limited is expecting to deploy 1,000 robots by the end of the first phase of the Zero Labor project. According to the board chairman, the company will reduce its workforce by 90%. So instead of employing 2,000 workers, the company will require just 200 employees to operate software and administration of robots.
Damn.
But the difference is, though, part of the reason China is doing this is because there's a labor shortage in the country. There's not enough people to build the goods that are being demanded. It's interesting, though. This is definitely where we're headed.
Yeah. Well, I know that one of the plants at the company I work for, they don't have forklift drivers. All of the product moving and so forth is done by essentially robotic forklift cars that drive around on a magnetic track and do all the stuff that way.
Oh, wow, cool. It's a ride from Disneyland.
Or you can just stand in line and watch it all, just like you would at Disneyland. We do have some Pathfinder news from the RPG team.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming out with a 5th anniversary extended collection. It has integrated encounters for Hero Lab and a custom sound effects set.
Oh my god, I need this now.
Wow. Rise of the Rune Lords is what initially set Pathfinder apart. And it had a massive chain of adventures carrying player characters from level 1 to level 17 or 18. Wizards of the Coast has adapted it in some ways for the 5th edition D&D, and now for the 5th anniversary, it sounds like Rise of the Rune Lords is going to be a new adventure path in a single hardcover collection.
It's been spread out across a bunch of Splat books so far. It'd be fun. It would be great to have it in one place to just get it.
Well, Rise of the Rune Lords is going to be a full package that includes the Hero Lab RPG management software. And it's also going to have Sirenscape. Sirenscape is a sound mixing program that lets you create soundscapes by blending ambient sounds, music, and sound effects.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
I have only images. Sirenscape has created a set of custom soundscapes for each area in the adventure path, with specific custom sound effects for key monsters and locations. Sirenscape can be a little pricey, it says here. It comes with a few free fantasy sound sets and a separate sci-fi version, but the entire Rune Lord set costs $90 or can be accessed through a $6.50 per month subscription cost. Yeah, take this pill and you'll make sound effects. So that's what's coming out soon for Pathfinder. You know, Sirenscape almost sounds like it's worthwhile for just about any RPG, really. Just a little imagination, you can make it work.
Yeah.
And the last bit of nerd interest news I have is for the pirate fans out there, because they may have found a legendary treasure recently.
Oh.
There was a group of American divers who were diving off the island of Sainte Marie near Madagascar. And they think they may have found the treasure of the legendary Captain Kidd. Yeah, now as a background, Captain William Kidd was born in Scotland in around 1645. He was first employed by British authorities as a pirate hunter. His job was to handle the pirates in the area, capture or destroy them. Pretty basic mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a result of, or during part of that mission, Captain Kidd himself turned into a ruthless criminal pirate. He looted a treasure-laden ship back in 1698. He was caught, imprisoned, questioned, and executed. But the fate of most of his treasure, though, has remained a mystery. And there were divers who recently went into a recent wreckage they found, and they pulled up a single bar of silver marked with the same letters as the ship that Captain Kidd supposedly raided. And according to the lead marine archaeologist on the mission, Barry Gifford, he told the AP he believes there's more treasure down there.
Nice.
They brought the silver bar to the president of Madagascar, and the bar is believed to be a 17th century piece originating in Bolivia, but its authenticity is going to be determined following studying and testing. That might be the last great pirate treasure left on the planet. Wouldn't that be a weird book to close the final chapter on?
The last pirate treasure?
Yeah. And he left it all in one piece. All right, our last bracket of news is our What the Fuck Corner. It's those interesting news stories we find around the internet that just make us question how humanity has gotten this far. First off is actually a more pleasant WTF, but it's also a video game one. Because I would like somebody to really explain to me who came up with this mod, why they spent so much time doing it, and why haven't I tried this before? It's a Grand Theft Auto 5, and it's called The Car Gun.
That sounds fun already.
I hope so, because I already sent you the video. Take a look. As you can see, it starts out with somebody that looks like a prostitute arming up with a rifle. Take a look at the...
Oh my gosh, that's great.
She points the gun, fires, and vehicles come out at rapid speed.
Is that the same vehicle as a random
Oh my
vehicle?
god, I would buy this
The
game
last one we
just
saw was a cement mixer.
Yeah, it's definitely random on the cars in the game. No particular order they seem to come out. I think I see a horse trailer there in the distance. And they seem to come out screaming, it looks like at around 200 miles per hour, if I had to take a guess.
Oh, yeah. That truck just took out that car.
That was a cop car coming. I mean, when you start backing it...
A minigun.
Yeah, minigun car gun.
With an ambulance.
This is one of those things where somebody had way too much time on their hands, and I would like to shake his hand, because this is just demented enough to be hilarious.
That's what the mod guys really do. If this is a fix a problem, it's to do some crazy shit like this.
We would have sat there and said, you know what would be fun to fire out of a gun?
Oh.
A car. Yeah. Even the grenade shot out a van.
Yeah. Oh, that poor food cart truck. And the bulldozer takes out a police car and a tow truck. Oh, I was gonna say, is he really gonna fire that car gun up at the...
in the sky? It doesn't work that way, thankfully. Wouldn't that be something if a helicopter's up there and is that a tractor?
Yeah, I'm just flashing back to
Die Hard.
Die Hard. You took
Right.
out a helicopter with the car. I was out of bullets.
That's definitely literal in this case.
Yeah, roadblocks are not effective against the character.
You know what this is? This is what would happen if the Stunicons were in video games.
He just fired out 2 Dune buggies.
I think I saw a crane in there.
Oh, she just got run over.
And
Cars,
gets back up?
her ultimate weakness.
Nope. Yeah, he gets back up.
Yep, got back up.
Crazy. So that happened. In further news, there was a hacker in Guild Wars 2.
Uh-oh.
He spent weeks terrorizing people by hacking the game. He was reported as being able to deal absurd damage, teleport, and survive 9 possible situations, and opponents can only grind their teeth and watch, I should say. Day in, day out, he did this for a while. The hacker would warp into precious keys and capture structures, all the while killing whoever got in their way. And when the devs caught on in this and decided to do something about it, they got dramatic.
Oh, I heard about this.
I want to know
They
what happened.
took control of this hacker's character, stripped them naked, and made them jump to their death, and then systematically deleted each of the hacker's characters and banned them.
Wow.
There's a video, too, of this person standing on top of a fountain over a bridge, waving goodbye and then leaping to their doom. Some people have said that it's not fair to humiliate them that much, I'm kind of mixed mind about that, because while I do think that usually doing something like this is cruel, however, this guy also got a chance to spend a couple weeks doing this kind of ridiculous shit to other people.
Right. Not to mention the fact that, you know what, you're breaking the game's rules, and then you're going to sit there and say, oh, but they went too far to fix the problem. It's like, okay, yeah, they could have just deleted the guy's account and said, oh no, he's been banned. But would that necessarily
justice would not have been served.
Well, I'm not even talking about justice. I'm just like, okay, this kind of humiliation could actually be seen as somewhat of a deterrent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's just one of those things where it's all drama on both ends. Now, Witcher 3 has not come out yet, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. However, a copy of it was recently brought onto Conan's talk show. He likes to do segments where he does video games with guests on his show, and it's just kind of a laugh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
However, Conan himself got a little bit freaked out while they were playing this particular game. He was doing his Clueless Gamer segment, and The Witcher 3, for those who don't know, is a game about hunting monsters. Near the end of the particular video here, and it's apparently a video that's about 10 minutes long, so I don't think I'll bother sharing it with you guys just because of how long it is. Conan himself freaked out and told the guy who's playing with he might have to leave the room, because during that particular segment, there's a stuffed unicorn in the room of the hero, and he and some woman in the game are starting to have sex on the back of it.
That's funny.
For some people who say that may be a little extreme for a video game, believe it or not, this actually happens in the Witcher books as well.
Yeah.
That's what video games are based off of. This occurs. And I'll tell you what, I cannot send you the video because, like I said, it's too long, and even though it sounds hilarious, that'd be an awful lot to get through. However, here is the gif of Conan realizing what they're about to do on the back of this stuffed horse, and he is pushing guys saying, I need some time by myself. And I don't know what exactly he's saying, but I think you can read his lips and say, you have to get out of here, now. So, yeah, that actually happened. Sex on the back of a stuffed horse. Now, we've had a few instances where we have nature photography that just makes us say, the fuck are you doing, man?
Yep.
We had the gorilla that was drunk on bamboo shoots and nearly punched out a photographer because he was in the way. We've seen the lion that said, you look tasty. We have seen the man that was holding up a bluefin tuna just to be grabbed by a sea lion because he's holding the fish.
Lunch.
Yep. Now we have a New Jersey grade school teacher who decided to take a cage diving expedition in South Africa.
Uh-oh.
And a filmmaker in Australia
I've seen this.
during this cage dive.
I see
okay?
this.
First of all, here is the image from the cage dive itself. And this is one of those things that reminds me why I don't want to go in the fucking ocean.
Yeah. Great whites, yeah.
Yeah, that is freaky in and of itself, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they're literally putting bait out to attract this thing.
Yeah.
Steve, the other night, I actually wanted to show you this article, but you were already asleep.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, the photographer, Dave Riggs, he's a filmmaker in Australia, and he was setting up a shot when he got this picture, which is even worse because there's no cage involved here.
Yeah, but this is a bit misleading. Because
Surprise,
all the shark was
Sean.
doing was looking around.
Well, that's what he says the shark was doing. I don't know any shark that takes a look with its mouth open.
Apparently that's what great whites actually do. It's just
I don't care what it's doing because a shark
it's
looking
scary, but
also is checking you out to see if you're edible.
Yes.
You know, because I look around a few times at a salad bar just to figure out which tomatoes I'm going to grab.
Is it...
That looks like the same kind of expression.
I agree. Is it tasty?
Yeah. I mean, there's part of it that looks kind of sleepy, like she's saying, you're a little bit far away. But there's that other part of the expression that says, you look crunchy on the outside and chewy on the inside. No. Frick no, man.
This is...
You need a bigger boat.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I saw Jaws way too early, and that has affected my whole fear of sharks and oceans and so forth, yeah, no. There's no way in hell I would ever be able to do something like that. If I saw that, if I was that close, I probably would have wound up in the water on the other side and then, yeah.
And then been eaten.
And then been eaten.
I can almost imagine there's just that fin that pops up and there's Steve screaming to the other end of the yacht, Spielberg, save me!
Fuck no, Spielberg's the one responsible. I'd be
Lucas,
damn you,
save me!
Spielberg.
Send me on the Millennium Falcon! That's safer! Put me on the goddamn Death Star! Unfortunately, it's not just snorkelers in the ocean that get freaked out. There was one in the Colorado River that lost their shit, too. Because this particular snorkeler was swimming down in the Colorado River between the Arizona and California border and had to call authorities because they found several skeletal remains at the bottom of the river.
Oh, I saw this one, too.
The snorkeler called police in Arizona. This was this past Monday to check out the remains. Several police divers went down, and what they found was several skeletons, indeed. Several fake skeletons.
What?
Somebody had set them up around a table, complete with sunglasses and what appeared to be a few fake drinks, and there were several signs around the skeletons that read, Dream in the River and Bernie.
The fuck?
There's speculation that the Bernie sign may have had to do with Weekend in Bernie's with a reanimated dead person.
Yeah.
And the police are speculating that they don't think these skeletons were put anywhere in an attempt to scare anybody. It looks more like an art project that somebody set up and just left behind.
Littering.
Technically, but is there even any evidence left to go check the person out? The sign had a date of August 16th, 2014.
Wow, it's been there a while.
Yeah. You can bet there's not much evidence to be left after 8 months of soaking in this shit. It's just one of those weird moments where some poor schlep is swimming through here and thinking, holy shit, I found a graveyard of a mass murderer. And then the cops are swimming through it thinking, holy shit, what are we doing here? It's just one of those weird moments where everybody's freaking out, and unfortunately the truth is just so underwhelming.
It's weird, though.
Yeah. Now, how about this? There's a lady who saved her own life via pizza.
Oh, I saw this one too.
This I need to know more about.
Okay, there was a Florida mother. She was being held hostage by her boyfriend at knife point with her 2 kids.
Oh, I have heard about this one.
Her name is Cheryl Treadway. Her boyfriend, Ethan Nickerson, they got into an argument. He pulled a knife and wouldn't let them go. During the evening, the woman convinced her boyfriend that the kids were getting hungry so she could just order him a pizza. So she picked up the Pizza Hut app, typed in a small pepperoni classic pizza, and wrote in the notes on the order, please help, get 911 to me. She also wrote 911 hostage help. And the employees at the local Pizza Hut thankfully didn't really question it. They saw it, they read it, saw it, and called the cops who went to the house. The boyfriend thankfully is under arrest right now and he's being held. You know, I gotta applaud the woman. That is some solid thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's clever.
Whoever thought pizza would be the thing that saves your life instead of ends it?
Now it's still going to kill you with the cholesterol.
And the boyfriend's being held on aggravated assault with a weapon, battery, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. He's being held on a $45,000 bond.
He can stay there.
Yeah, he can stay there. If he's going to be so stupid, he'd let Pepperoni put him in pizza or put him in jail anyway.
Pizza.
So how'd you get in here? Pizza.
Wouldn't that be the saddest thing ever? Of what you doing here? Robbed a man. What you doing here? Killed a man. What you doing here? Pizza. I didn't know mountains could read.
Huh?
Have you ever heard of Mo Mountain?
No.
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 They're called the Mountains of Mouthiness. Somebody has built a website at, I think it's momountain.com. Oh no, mountainsofmouthiness.com. There are 2 mountains that if you put in the hashtag MoMountain or send a tweet to MoMouthness, these mountains will actually read all of those tweets.
What?
I am not shitting you.
I'm confused.
Well, let me send you the link. There are literally 2 mountains that read tweets. Any tweets sent to @MoMouthness or using the hashtag Mouthness, these mountains will read.
Okay, is this a literal mountain or a...
They're a pair of animated mountains somebody put together.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
CG graphics mountains. Have you seen? Can you see them?
That makes more sense because it's like, is someone going up to a mountain and like doing an echo thing or?
No, it's just a pair of CG animated mountains that read all of these tweets. And the weird thing is, as stupid as it sounds, I just opened it up trying to look at it, and during the first couple tweets, I said, "This is fucking stupid." Next thing I know, before I've even figured it out, 6 minutes have passed, and I'm just watching these mountains read tweets. It's strangely engrossing somehow. Maybe it's just the serene atmosphere of the picture. Looks like these two mountains are sitting over a Dutch village or something. You guys hear the stuff they're spurting out, I assume?
Nope.
Nope, still loading.
Huh.
Oh, there we go. Had to mute.
Oh.
Of course, they aren't talking. It's just, they're just sitting there.
Oh, it may have to do with your browser. If you open it in Internet Explorer, it works extremely well.
Oh.
That's lame.
Yeah. I opened it in Firefox, silly me.
Yeah. So we'll move on from there. It was just one of those really bizarre things that I have no idea why it's engrossing, but it is. IO9 and Vincent Miklos has a list of real places on Earth so surreal they look like alien landscapes. Instead of trying to share the individual pictures, I'll send you the link because the end caps on the YouTube videos are almost as interesting. You have White Desert in western Egypt, Salar de Uyuni, the world's largest salt flat in southwest Bolivia, the Ayoke Lake in Hokkaido, Japan, the Marble Caves in General Carrera Lake in Chile, Valle de Lua in National Park, Brazil, the Pumpkin Spring in the Grand Canyon, the colored rock formations at the Zhangye Dangjia Landform Geological Park in China, Derweze or Darvaza, also known as the Door to Hell in Turkmenistan, Cano Cristales, the Liquid Rainbow in Colombia, Lake Hillier in Australia, the Wave, a sandstone rock formation in Colorado Plateau, Arizona, the Guest Welcome Pond in China, and a few others here. Like I said, just the end caps on these YouTube videos look like very interesting places.
This is really cool.
The salt flats of Uyuni, I almost want to walk around there, frankly. It's very chill. The salt flats are the same ones from the opening GIF there.
Yeah, I kind of like the Valle de Luna. That place looks trippy.
Yeah, I know. I like Pamukkale from Turkey, the terraced water pools. It's supposed to be filled with water from 17 different hot springs. Pamukkale. I think I said that right. It means cotton castle.
Right.
It looks like it's surrounded by limestone. The Cave of the Crystals in Mexico looks bizarre. That looks like something you walk around in Destiny, frankly.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen a documentary on this particular.
I like the
different sections of the cave that actually have different colored crystals.
That's cool.
V, what were you looking at?
I like the liquid rainbow. It's just caused by river weeds.
Liquid rainbow.
The
Colombian River.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I would try to pronounce the name of it, but I would fail.
Caño Cristales.
Thank you.
Looks like it's practically... The Door to Hell in Turkmenistan looks just surreal.
Yeah,
that gas
that's
lamp.
It also looks warm, and I don't do well in heat.
Door to Hell. Which one was that one?
It's a site that was identified by Soviet geologists in 1971. They set up a drilling rig and found a methane vein, so they decided to burn off the methane. Turns out there was a lot more methane, and it's still burning, apparently.
I like the terraces of hot springs.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about in Turkmenistan. Or, no, Turkey. It's Pamukkale. If it wasn't for the fact that it looks so pristine, that's the type of place I almost say, let's hike there and just soak. But that definitely doesn't look like human bodies touch it. There's no spray paint. Spotted Lake in Canada looks pretty cool, too. God, all of a sudden I want to travel. Last bit of what the fuck news I have is it's Jesse related, frankly.
Okay.
There was a Florida team that was caught recently. This was back in October. He was using a stuffed horse to masturbate at Walmart.
What?
This was last October. 19-year-old Sean Johnson went to the store's comforter section and used a stuffed horse toy to masturbate before placing it back on the shelf among other items.
Yeah, but it wasn't actual, like, pony related or anything.
No.
It's a little too close to be comfortable.
No, it's not. It takes you off the clearance rack, so...
Yeah, he was arrested in the parking lot right after he did it, thankfully. He selected a brown, tan, and red stuffed horse from the clearance shelf in the garden department. The defendant then proceeded to the comforter aisle and housewares and proceeded to pull out his genitals, which were in an aroused state. The defendant then proceeded to hold the stuffed horse's chest area to his genitals and proceeded to hump the stuffed horse using short, fast movements. My God, this sounds like a security guard who's just having too much fun describing this. The defendant then continued his action until he achieved an orgasm and ejaculated on the stuffed horse's chest area. The defendant then placed a soiled stuffed horse, let's just say defiled, on top of a bed bag and comforter set, contaminating that property also. The defendant then exited the store and left the property. Contact was made with the defendant directly across the street.
I was afraid you were going to bring this article up.
That's horrible. He apparently, after arrested, was issued an apology. I apologize to the horse. It's just so weird to choose a random stuffed horse and just go, you know what? I'm going to fuck this thing.
He had to have been, like, on something.
I don't know. His picture just looks pathetic, so it's hard for me to tell. Then again, it's Florida. You know, maybe he couldn't find a Mickey Mouse doll in time. The subject of this week was Age of Ultron. The movie that came out as of May 1st, 2015. It's the continuing story of the combined Avengers from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And expectations for this movie were undeniably high. The hype train going into this was just tremendous, and by the time all the clips were released online, I think there was like 8 before the movie came out, I wasn't sure there was much left for the movie to reveal. Au contraire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I will say my general opinion of the movie is that I think it met the bar it set. It didn't surpass it like the first movie did, but I do think it was a solid hit as to what they wanted from the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it did better than the first movie, but it definitely kept the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I didn't come out of that going, fuck, I wasted my time.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I just wish that Thor was shirtless more.
Holy shit. And handcuffed to Loki. I want to start, frankly, with the villain, Ultron, played by James Spader. I have seen a lot of criticism online saying that this is a one-note villain, and I can appreciate that. He only had one note to play throughout it. However, that note was a very strong note, I thought. I'm not quite sure what people are looking for as far as character death for a character who, over the course of the film, must have had a lifespan of approximately 1 week.
The character was like, I am born. I hate humans. Must kill humans because save world.
That is entirely the mission of Ultron in the comics, though. That's all he does. He tries to save the world by ending humanity.
Actually, ending all life, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, ending all life is kind of collateral. Humans are the primary danger he finds.
Yeah, I did have issue with Ultron, but that's from, I guess, a nostalgic point of view. I mean, James Spader's portrayal of the character, there's no comparison. That was fantastic. It's the idea they had behind Ultron, of his, I guess, archetype, actually, his character archetype. But, you know, I know the history of Ultron is made by Hank Pym, and Ultron's basically kind of a clone of him. And that's the Ultron I was kind of familiar and used to. But the thing is, they did have to rewrite so that Tony Stark was the creator, and thus he adopted Tony Stark's kind of personality traits.
Okay, so what's the problem with the archetype? You've laid out some details, but you haven't laid out what the actual issue.
I was so used to him being very, very robotic.
Oh,
instead of being very animated.
Human? Yeah.
Yeah.
the thing is, that's one of those things that works on the comic book page. That wouldn't work for a movie. Because if you tried to portray Ultron as more robotic, that means you would have to dial down the character to the point of either the T-800
Yeah, he wouldn't have
or
as much,
Johnny 5.
Yeah, he wouldn't have as much menace.
Yeah. Again, that was my personal issue with it.
But the creation of Ultron also was a step above what Hank Pym or Tony Stark individually could perform, because the birth of Ultron involved a cosmic force, literally.
Yep.
You know, one of the Marvel Universe's pillars of creation, as they've written it in the movies. It seemed a little sudden, but at the same time, when you have a mind that can grow exponentially, it's going to do a lot of freakish things rather quickly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what Ultron did. I mean, as soon as it was born, it started accessing the internet, and goodness knows what information it could pick up. Some of the best memes I've seen about it was access the internet for 2 seconds and already wants to kill humanity.
Seen that one.
You know, and as I responded online, maybe it saw 2 girls in a cup and said, "Fuck this shit."
Have not seen that yet. Don't
Do
plan
not
on
see that.
seeing it.
But, you know, I really enjoyed this particular take of Ultron because all it is the flip side of Tony Stark. I mean, we've seen him, in his attempt to do right, he's managed to fuck things up as often as he fixes them. What if instead, all that time, all he's trying to do is fuck things up?
And fix them.
And fix them, yeah.
Yeah.
Fixing is fucking everything.
He's not trying to fix things and then accidentally fucks it up. He's trying to fuck things up and, by doing that, fix them.
Yeah. And I thought the greatest character moment for Ultron came when he was talking to Ulysses Claw, getting the vibranium.
Yes, exactly.
Claw compared him to Tony Stark. He grabbed him by the arm and started yelling, "Do not compare me to Tony Stark. I am nothing like him." And just while gesturing, he accidentally cuts his arm off.
Right. He's just like, oh, that looks
sorry.
bad. That'll be okay. That'll be okay.
Yeah. Ooh, that's sorry. I'm sorry. I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite parts.
Moving on, Chris Evans is Captain America. What can you say? It's his 4th time as it. He knows what he's doing, and again, he's got the character nailed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anybody before, any previous attempt at Captain America, including some of his own prior films, where he seems to understand both the prospects of being a man out of his time and also being the penultimate soldier. He really understands all of it without making any part pathetic, which happens so often in films.
Well, I don't know about not pathetic. I mean, the language gag running around through there.
I thought that was
He
great.
makes it. Well, no, I loved it, but I mean, honestly, I've heard a lot of complaints about the humor of the show detracting from it, which I totally don't
Really?
agree with.
Really? No.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, but if you suck out all the humor, it's going to be Batman v Superman.
Yep.
Right?
Well, the main reason why I like it so much is just because it reminds me of hanging out with my friends. We fuck with each other all the time that way. Jesse can agree with me. Jeremy can agree with me. We give each other shit all the time, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. They're friends.
It sells the friendship to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
agreed.
There were characterizations in this movie that took a quantum leap forward. However, I don't think Chris Hemsworth was one of them. As one of the main characters of the Avengers in this particular story, Thor had little screen time comparatively.
Yeah.
I don't think that's anything. I don't think that's because there's anything wrong with the character. I don't think that's because there's anything wrong with Chris Hemsworth. Thor, unfortunately, is just one of those game-changing characters.
Yeah, he's really major. He's a freaking god.
Yeah. I mean, he was the only one left on the city at the end of the movie when they destroyed it for obvious fucking reasons.
Yeah.
He's too indestructible to really be threatened by a whole lot of terrestrial problems.
He's basically there for wisdom, counsel, and
shirtlessness, according to me. Yeah.
And funny jokes.
Yeah. The humor for Thor was definitely turned up in this one because they dished all the idea that he has no idea how Earth works. He understands it perfectly. Doesn't agree with it all, but he's fine.
They didn't even do that much with that in the first movie, though. Earth works this way. Okay, whatever.
No, the biggest gag they had was the whole hammer bit.
Yeah.
No, the biggest gag they had, I thought, for him was the Stan Lee bit.
That was
also good. Yeah.
that extended cameo by Lee where he's telling him, go on, give me your 1,000-year-old age stuff. I'm 80 years old. I can drink it.
Yes.
I wonder if he actually pulled out his old military uniform for that, or is that?
Yeah, there were some. I've read some people complaining about one particular Thor scene, and that was early on in the film during the party when Thor and Tony Stark were having a "My Girlfriend Is Better" competition.
Oh. You could totally see that though.
Yeah.
They're a pair of egomaniacs comparing women. Of course they do it.
And they got set up to do it.
They didn't just get set up to do it. Who was the person that shot them down? Poor little Maria Hill.
On the top of all of their women are the ones that actually bring the money in at that point.
Oh, yeah. And Tony Stark is also, as Robert Downey Jr. played, has gone nowhere in these movies, pretty much because he doesn't need to go anywhere. He's still the guy dealing with major amounts of PTSD with the brain that could save the planet, but at the same time, the impulsiveness of an 8-year-old.
I love Tony Stark.
He does. He does a lot of things without thinking. Sometimes it works, more often it doesn't.
Yeah. Just ask the Hulk.
But, unfortunately, Robert Downey Jr. is the perfect one to cast that, because Steve and I joked way back when Iron Man was cast. They announced Robert Downey Jr. There's a lot of people who just said, who would hire him? Who would let that guy do a movie? And I told Steve over the phone, you know what, this is perfect casting. He says, why? Because Tony Stark is a brilliant, dumbfounding, alcoholic playboy. All Robert Downey Jr. has to do to get up in the morning is muss his hair and go, I'm all set.
Yeah.
I remember this conversation.
Acting at its best.
It's really the ideal guy to play the role, and he had fun. It's wonderful. I've never seen anybody that seems to really enjoy his character as much as Robert Downey Jr. because he seems to do it both on and off screen. He does it very well for the cameras. He has these moments at Make-A-Wish stuff. He showed that he helped that kid put on his new 3D printed Iron Man prosthetic. He keeps referring to DC in every interview as the distinguished competition, just like the frickin' editors at Marvel do when they're talking about their competition. He is having so much fun doing this. I wouldn't be surprised if, even though he may be done playing the role of Iron Man soon, they keep him as an EP just because he won't shut the frick up.
Well, he's 2 steps away from being Tony Stark, so...
Yeah. Now, let's talk about some of the Avengers that took massive leaps forward in their characterization. First off, we got to start with probably Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Holy shit, they took that character in ways I never intended or thought was really possible because, you know how comic books are, it's a visual medium, and because it's a stop-motion medium where you have to put together the images and the voices yourself, a lot of characters can seem rather similar. They really set Bruce Banner apart as this goofy little guy who really would rather not be involved in any of this, but can't stop himself from being in all of it.
Right.
Either through a lack of sheer inability to say no to everyone, or just because someone has to poke him in the temple to force the other side to come out. And I thought it was great how early on in the movie they established that they actually have what they call a code green when they need the Hulk.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to play that character, that would be the most terrorizing phrase of my life, because that means I'm going to shut down for about half an hour here. And I thought their way of bringing him out of it with a post-hypnotic suggestion via the Black Widow, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a nice story device. It really played well throughout the movie. But we also got to see the different the different sides of Bruce Banner in the film, I thought. The guy who can be self-assured when things go right, and the guy who can be completely destroyed when the Hulk does something completely batshit insane.
And the guy who's awkward talking to girls.
Oh, God, yeah. That was fun. That was absolutely fun. Anybody have anything to add about Ruffalo? Because I thought he nailed it.
Oh,
no, definitely.
Yeah.
No, you covered it.
I'm still not sure how I feel about the relationship between Black Widow and Hulk, but I think I'm gonna have to go back over the last 2 movies and see how they developed it, because I'm sure that the tracks were set and I just didn't really pick up on it. But
I don't
no,
think
this was kind of a sudden.
They were not. And let's actually jump into that in two parts here. First off, let's talk about Scarlett Johansson, because the portrayal of the Black Widow in this movie, for some reason, has feminists very upset.
What? Why? I thought she was, like, note perfect.
I'm a little unsure. It may have had to do with the scene where Ultron captured her, like the only Avenger he managed to capture, and locked her up. I don't know. There are some people who are extreme on everything. There's always constituencies in every fandom you can't talk to because they've already believed you've done wrong. And that was the only point during the movie where the Black Widow really showed any sort of weakness.
Well,
and what's her weakness? The same as several other Avengers. Not all of them are bulletproof.
Yeah. Well, I think it might have to do with the fact of, calling yourself a monster, or I don't know. But
you know what?
I really don't understand it.
I watched that twice now, and I thought that was some of the strongest character acting that Scarlett Johansson did as in her time as Natasha Romanoff. Because I thought that really set her apart. Simply because Bruce Banner is the only other person on the team who sees himself as a monster, but the difference is Bruce Banner is only a monster during particular times. In the case of the Black Widow, that kind of portrayal would never end in that character's lifetime.
Right.
She would always be a freak of nature compared to the rest of them because it's not something she can ever fix. And I doubt it's something she's told the rest of the team about because, Tony Stark, the first thing he'd do would be install cybernetic vulva in her.
Right?
So I think it's interesting that this came out. It showed some moments of weakness where you could almost see it look like the character wanted to cry but just couldn't because that would mean breaking down entirely. Which is a wall I'm sure a lot of people have trouble crossing.
Yeah.
And Johansson, she's been in this role 4 times now, and not once have they really spent any time on her character. Now they did, and she's just become like 10 times more interesting to me.
I agree.
And I personally, I don't see why people would be upset with this portrayal of a woman because, one, we saw her kick ass on the same level as like Captain America, even though she may have much less enhancement than he does. Mm-hmm. We saw her able to think on par with, some master tacticians when it comes to managing a battlefield. She's able to stand one-on-one with a gigantic 12-foot monster and not shy away from it.
And she's the only one that charged the murderous robot.
Yeah. She held her own among gods and ultra-talented...
Gods and monsters.
Yeah.
I think that the character, at least in my personal profile, the character elevated in this movie.
And now she's going to be one of the core elements of the...
Avengers.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about the last member of the main 6 who definitely got an upgrade, and that's Hawkeye.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love what they did.
I was listening to Steve, listening to Steve force chat when we got to that cottage out in the middle of nowhere.
Dude, they were raising so many flags, I thought they were going to another country. That was the only reason why I wasn't sure if he was going to die or not, because I was like, it would be so obvious to kill him at that point.
Well, that was a funny thing throughout the movie, was that we had so many character inferences where it seemed like the typical lead-ins in movies where a particular character is going to die, and all of it centered around Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. He did everything except tell Captain America, Cap, when we're done with this fight, I'm going to go back to Eagle River and marry my childhood sweetheart.
Yeah, because he was already married. But that was some of the other fucking flags that they raised.
Yeah. And it was great that it all turned out to be a red herring. I thought that was great writing because he did everything to make you think that Renner was not going to make it through the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On purpose. And it was definitely on purpose. But, Renner finally got a chance to act in these films.
Right. I mean, that was the one main thing is that, you kind of see him in Thor.
Yeah.
And then in the first Avengers movie, he's a bad guy for most of it.
Brainwashed.
Yeah.
And brainwashed with no emotion.
Yeah, and during the few times he's out of it, he's so angry, you're not sure what exactly he's thinking.
Right.
As far as the Thor movie, I'm convinced he never actually saw another actor on the set. All of his scenes, I'm pretty sure he was by himself, probably as an afterthought. They probably thought they could squeeze the character in right there to make it look like there's other things going on besides Thor and Iron Man at this point.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, none of his scenes have actual character interactions. And the few times it looks like... Right, and the few times that you see somebody from the Crow's Nest looking down at Thor, they could have put somebody else in there until they were sure who they cast in that part. You never saw his face actually looking at the battlefield. You just saw an over-the-ear shot. And knowing Hollywood, that could have been anybody. And besides which, that couldn't have even been Chris Hemsworth down there. They may have filmed that, again, as part of an add-in later on. It's not like him sitting in that Crow's Nest makes much sense in the narrative of the Thor movie itself. You know what I mean? However, Renner had some great character moments. I especially like two of them involving the new characters when he met the Scarlet Witch who was getting ready to mind whammy, and he suddenly tagged her with that taser arrow and said, "Done the mind control thing. Not a fan."
Yeah.
And then the other part was when they're on that floating city, and Quicksilver picks up his sister and just says, "You gotta keep up, old man." He just suddenly aims at her.
And he's like, "No one would know. No one would know.
I could do it right now. No one would know."
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to him, Cap. Last I saw, Ultron was standing on him. It was the darndest thing.
God, I love Jeremy.
Oh,
Renner.
the banter between those two was too good.
We've seen it in the trailer where he tells the Scarlet Witch, "You step out that door, you're an Avenger."
Yeah.
What they don't show you is the speech that leads up to it. That's so great. I know, this is crazy. We're on a floating city. We're surrounded by robots that want to kill us. I'm talking to you, and I'm standing here with a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. And I thought that was great about Renner. During the scenes at the home, he looked so relaxed, and he was so into just being home, and during the scenes where he's fighting, he definitely looks like that guy who's just thinking to himself,
what the fuck am I doing here?
How did Mark put it? The Chewbacca defense?
I don't know. He just always had that look of, if that one-eyed bastard hadn't recruited me, I wouldn't be here. But anybody have anything to add? Because Hawkeye was no longer useless in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was great. I've always liked Jeremy Renner since the first time I saw him in Angel. But
the first time I saw him was in National Lampoon's School Trip.
I have not seen that.
It was like 2 decades ago, and he was very young.
I've been just waiting for them to give him a chance to shine, because I knew he would be great.
I didn't know he played Jeffrey Dahmer before in a made-for-TV movie. It was an independent feature.
And there is still the question, is he going to be part of the new Avengers? Because
well, he's already been cast in Civil War. We discussed that.
Right. But, is he going to be in the next, Avengers film, or is he going to be part of this new Avengers team that they seem to be putting together? Because you got Cap, you got Black Widow, then you got the other people that they revealed at the end of the movie. He was at home, so he's kind of up in the air.
Well, he definitely thinks he's out right now. And it all depends on what the storyline is for Civil War, because there is a rumor going around right now that the storyline for Civil War is that Crossbones gets his hands on and kills Hawkeye's wife.
Ooh. Yeah, that would be brutal.
So there's no guarantee that if his role in Civil War has anything to do with the fight between Iron Man and Cap, he could just be hunting the asshole that killed his wife and possibly the rest of his family. Chew on that nugget.
Oh, if they do that, they can't turn him into Frank Castle.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping they don't.
Not exactly. They could just turn him into Ultimate Hawkeye. That guy lost his family in the comics.
Ah.
And that's when he stopped using a bow and arrow and started using a long rifle and a pair of Glocks. Wasn't into tricks at that point. We can step forward into... let's talk about the twins a little bit. Elizabeth Olsen...
Scarlet Witch was awesome.
Yeah.
I did like the representation, far more understandable how her powers worked and so forth than...
Well, that's because they stripped down her powers. Reality warping is kind of a hard thing to impart among people.
Yeah.
They stripped her, not entirely, but they moved it down right now to where she's brand new and all she seems to understand are the telekinetic and telepathic aspects of her abilities.
She uses those well.
Yeah.
And I love the little finger motions.
Yeah.
You mean the Doctor Strange style hands?
Yeah.
I thought that she kicked ass, especially my favorite scene was when she got super pissed off and just detonated a whole bunch of them nearby.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I thought the masterful moment, she had a lot of quiet moments of acting. Her character was not very overblown. She had a lot of times where she's standing off and not entirely talking, but just her expressiveness. I thought she really understands emotions very well in her performances.
Yeah.
However, I thought her strongest character moment came when she found Ultron in that train car. He was half dead, and she
I thought that was
talked to him
overdone.
for a moment and ripped out his heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought that was overdone.
Well, she didn't cry at him. She didn't scream. She didn't yell.
Yeah.
She was just already into her grief, and she had that simmering anger that just felt dangerous. And she, when she used her powers just to pull his heart out instead of just ripping him in half or doing something very 90s, I thought that was really a nice touch.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of it, there was Aaron Taylor Johnson, the former Kick-Ass, who's now playing Pietro Maximoff.
For the first and only time.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I don't know if it's the only time.
Because he and Elizabeth Olsen both had to do something that I thought was difficult, and that was be full characters under a very difficult accent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what was that accent exactly? Was it Russian or...
If I had to put it in a word, I'd say it was Slavic, Eastern Europe. Because the nation they were supposedly representing, Slovenia, does not exist.
Right.
Let's put that up front. I liked his Quicksilver, though. It was very arrogant.
Yep. It's arrogant, but with a purpose behind, other than being angsty teen.
Yeah, he actually had a drive to do stuff, and it wasn't just rebellion.
It made him familiar in a way, though, too, because he always has been. As you commented before, when they, in the actual comics now that they've said what his actual thing is, he's no longer a Prince of the Mutants. That's always kind of been Quicksilver.
The little stick he's always held.
Remember, Quicksilver in the comics, up until recently, has long time believed he's the son of Magneto, who is the Malcolm X of mutants.
Yeah, fair enough.
And now he's found out that's not true. This would be the second time he's been misled as far as his parentage. Aaron Taylor Johnson, he definitely got into shape for the role. I've never seen him look like that.
I didn't even recognize him.
What do you think of the portrayal of his speed powers? It's very different from the version from X-Men Days of Futures Past by Fox.
Less emphasis on the absolute speed, a lot more combat oriented.
Yeah, they never really went into his mind frame, his frame too much. They just kept it on what he actually did with it.
Well, I meant visually.
Visually?
Because for the Age of Ultron, they came up with that silvery after effect or after image when he runs through a scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The part where they're fighting on the island and they're getting the speech and he just stops and he's sitting there panting, holding his side because he's got a stitch or whatever, and then gets to the end of it and he's just like, oh, the hell with it, and just keeps going. I was like, dude, that sold me.
Yeah. That was bad.
I was sold a little bit before that during that scene in Stark Tower where they're standing around the chamber where the Vision is cooking.
Mm-hmm.
That bullet comes up through the plexiglass in front of him. His perception of time accelerates, so he's just kind of staring at it thinking, where the hell did this come from? And that's when the plexiglass gives way and he's back in normal time. That was a moment where I was sold just because he was that confused. He didn't realize he was looking at things differently than other people.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. And the antagonistic relationship he had with Hawkeye throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
just
golden.
Like this. Yeah, he just knew this was a guy he could run circles around and had no problem taunting him the entire fucking time.
Nobody would know.
Nobody would know.
Admittedly, one of my favorite scenes, only due to sheer how comedic it was when he tried to grab Thor's hammer out of midair.
Oh, yeah.
That was
he didn't realize that thing's a lot heavier than it looks.
He was just looking at it like, oh, opportunity, yoink, oh, shit, bad idea.
Yeah. And I will say that it's no secret by now that Quicksilver is the one who died in the film.
Yep.
And a lot of people, especially women online who were missing Thor's shirtlessness, were complaining that he shouldn't have died. I thought the loss of the character was not a great move. However, as far as heroic deaths go, I think that was a 10 out of 10 for a simple reason.
Yeah.
It's simple reasoning. Most of the time, character deaths, when it comes to superhero movies or shows, they often don't see it coming, or they're just plain outmatched. You know, it's always one of those things where it's practically inevitable as far as you can see, because generally when it happens, somebody screwed up. In the case of Aaron Taylor Johnson and Quicksilver in this film, he did it with full knowledge of what he was doing and what he was walking into, and did it anyway.
And he didn't get the pep talk.
No, I mean, there was no chance
by
him pushing that car in front of Hawkeye and shielding him. There was no chance he was going to survive, but he still did it.
Well, I think he's doing it from his own personal experience, especially with, being on the other side of the gun.
I don't think that was it. I think he did it because of the child. It wasn't Hawkeye he was saving. He was saving the
no, that's what I'm saying.
What Jesse's talking about.
Yeah,
he's been on the other side as a child.
He's been on the other side. He's been that child.
Yeah, but again, that's one of those things where it could have avoided it by staying out of it. He definitely saw it coming, as he kept saying through the film, but he just decided not to avoid it. And that's more balls than I've seen most characters in any DC or Marvel film to date. He took the hit just because it was the thing to do. It's definitely the most heroic death I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
If you had to put them next to each other, Aaron Taylor Johnson is Quicksilver or Evan Peters is Quicksilver, which do you prefer?
Oh, that's a hard one. The one from Days of Future Past.
I think the two characters are totally different.
Yeah.
They are. Which do you prefer?
I think this one.
I prefer this one for the more heroic, more heroic of the character, but
yeah,
the other one for Days of Future Past was definitely more entertaining.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, their roles are so different. I can't say, oh, I prefer this one over this one, because you're talking about two different movies, two different roles. They don't compare. That's apples to oranges. It's the same character, but completely different directions. One of them is
That's still not an answer, though. I'm asking which one you prefer.
There is no preference. I like them both.
You can still prefer one over the other.
I don't. I like them both. I liked both representations.
Because I like the Aaron Taylor Johnson one more, simply because they didn't set up a specific set piece to exhibit his abilities like they did in Days of Futures Past.
Although, you gotta admit, that was a fun scene.
I'm not saying it wasn't a fun scene. It's just, it was definitely one of those things where it was set up for it, because even as I was watching Days of Futures Past, I was trying to figure out who works in a circular kitchen.
Yeah, you're right.
Depends.
I've never seen one. I just want to know who works in a circular kitchen.
I don't know. I'm assuming that someone could do it. I don't even think it really matters if it was circular.
It was just an odd piece of architecture in the middle of this underground labyrinth.
I don't know. That never bothered me.
Ah. So, did you guys catch the connection of Dr. Cho in this film?
No, what do you mean?
I knew there was a connection. I just did not know what it was.
The Korean geneticist, the one they brought in to synthesize the flesh for Hawkeye, and the one who's responsible for
we
the
know who
body
you're talking about, but...
Yeah, we know the character. We just don't know the connection.
Yeah.
She's the mother of a character in Marvel Comics who's known as the seventh brightest person in all of their universe.
Oh, really? She's the mother of what's his name?
Amadeus
Cho. Okay. Did not
Hercules
realize that. Yeah.
Amadeus Cho was a character in the comics who was started out as a brilliant hacker until he was discovered by the likes of Reed Richards, Tony Stark, and Hank Pym. Just kind of a punk kid who really likes to do his own thing. However, because he's so brilliant, he does complicated computations on the fly and was known to create little actions that could entirely change a battlefield. He often hung out with the Hulk and Hercules. I can only guess he liked a challenge. For a while, he was a new Avenger, too, even though he had no body armor or really no special weaponry. Now, Paul Bettany is the Vision. That was an unexpected pleasure in the film.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that character.
I had reservations going into the film just because of how complicated the look of the character was.
Initially, it was very outlandish until he actually changed it to mostly green.
Yeah. the high amounts of magenta there were really not offensive to the eyes, but dear God, it took a lot of my my concentration when he was up there like that. Paul Bettany, he spoke very well as a Vision. He was very calm and collected. He didn't seem like just Jarvis put in something you had an ass.
Right.
And they did try to make it very clear as soon as the Vision was walking and talking, he wasn't Jarvis. He was something different.
Right.
The few scenes he was in, he was really interesting. That last scene where he's talking to the last body of Ultron, the speech he gave about humanity was very interesting. And I thought it was really weird to watch the two of them back and forth. The two weird creations of Tony Stark debating what humanity was and its potential.
Yeah, philosophical debate between two androids who are less than a week old.
Yeah. I just like that. Ultron called him naive, and he just says, well, I was born yesterday.
Yeah.
And here's
a little bit of Tony's humor.
Yeah. Here's an interesting little bit of trivia. Do you know that just before he got cast in that role, Bettany was told by a producer he would never work in Hollywood?
Really?
Paul Bettany, the guy who played the Vision. He was told by a producer he was just too weird and very likely would never appear in front of a camera again.
Someone obviously wrong.
Said, "Ah."
Yeah. And a few days after that, he got the call that he's no longer Jarvis, he is now the Vision.
Nice.
And actually, that kind of broke one of Disney's rules when it came to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that the same actor will not play two characters.
Oh, I thought you meant because he came out of that pod smoking. How did you guys like the tone of the film?
I loved it.
Very fast.
Yeah,
very intense.
Started out
with
with action. Yeah.
I thought the pacing was very well done. The changes between scenes, and I mean, you had your ups, then you had your downtime, then you had your up. It was, it wasn't so fast paced that you were sitting there with your head spinning. You had time to kind of
process things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard two relatively common complaints when I comb through stuff online. One was that people said there were too many jokes in it.
What?
I totally disagree.
Yeah, I don't know what they mean, because everybody is going to spend time trying to find levity in something. God knows we do it right here.
They're just trying to complain.
Yeah. The other item was that a lot of people complained about the sequence at the farmhouse.
What, too long?
They thought it dragged down the movie somehow.
I disagree. I think it injected much needed
developed the
rest
characters that didn't have it prior.
Yeah. It connected you to
You know what's
all of
that
them.
farm? It didn't have much with Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. because we've already seen their characters in a myriad of movies.
And it had almost nothing of Chris Hemsworth.
Right.
Yeah. Who needed nothing.
Yeah, it was mainly there to build up Hawkeye again. I mean, that was one of the things that never made sense to me too, because Hawkeye hasn't had a big role in these movies. It's, or I shouldn't say he hasn't had a big role, but he hasn't had character-defining roles in the previous appearances that he's been in movies, or in this particular movie. Yeah. Anyway,
it wasn't just Jeremy Renner who had a moment at that farmhouse, though, because they spent a couple long sequences with Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, and then that long sequence between the Black Widow and Bruce Banner as well.
Right. But again, it was showing the breaking of the team. It brought in Fury again. It just, I don't know how you could say that it wasn't necessary. That, I'm sure there were other ways they could have done that, but at the same time, it all fit, and it brought the humanity of Hawkeye, and it set up all of those flags where it's like, okay, you're introducing us to his family, you're introducing us to his wife, you're raising all of these things where he's got so much to lose and everything else. Who's going to be the guy that dies? Because they had already leaked the fact that there was somebody that was going to die at the end of this. It was very necessary from that standpoint alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. Let me ask you about another common complaint I found on the internet. It's one I don't agree with at all. A lot of people complained about the relationship between Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner.
I thought it was abrupt.
I thought it was abrupt. I'm not
thinking
sure how
about the
I feel.
histories of the characters.
Yeah.
And I think like with the whole the suggestion thing to help bring the Hulk down. I think Natasha Romanoff was the only character capable of pulling that off without any outside help.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think it was abrupt because technically the two characters would be seeing a relative amount of each other since the Winter Soldier ended and S.H.I.E.L.D. was no longer a factor in Romanoff's life. That means there was very few places where she could hang out, and Avengers Tower would be about the only place she could call home. So she would have seen a lot of Banner who had been there since the end of Avengers. And besides which, they made it very clear through the movie that Romanoff didn't feel comfortable around a lot of people, but she's felt comfortable around Banner because A, he's the only other monster on the team, as she put it, and B, he was the only one that wasn't an alpha male mentality.
Right.
Think about the other characters. Hawkeye very much comfortable on his own and not very interested in women for reasons that became obvious later in the film. Thor, big alpha male mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man, huge alpha male mentality. Steve Rogers, intractable alpha male mentality. And then you have Bruce Banner, who's the only guy who doesn't want people messing with him at all just because he'd rather keep things quiet.
Yeah.
And when you consider the character of the Black Widow, she's an alpha female, so something like Banner might be very intriguing to her.
I agree. My only real complaint is that I'm not sure about the actual chemistry between the characters. I don't know if it's just my bias or whatever.
Honestly, I agree with you there, but I think what it is it's Natasha's character trying to find someone to connect to, and Banner's the only.
That's true. She's trying to connect
she's got.
On an emotional level where she normally would connect differently.
Right. I mean, they've already shown that she can function well with Captain America. They've already shown that she has not necessarily contempt, but she doesn't regard Tony Stark highly. Due to the ego.
She has a very take it or leave.
Yeah.
She has a take it or leave it attitude when it comes to Stark.
But again, the only other person on the team that she was, close to, other than, Steve Rogers, but there was that distance because Rogers doesn't trust her.
Yeah.
Is, the only other obvious choice. I can understand from that point. It was just they really kind of threw it in your face right away. But again, reasoning through it afterwards, it did become kind of obvious that it's possible, and in this case, it did happen. That
let me see. I'm trying to. I just had a question, but I lost it, unfortunately. Fucking, it was something I kind of wanted to get into. There are some people who said that they didn't like the fact that the movie just started off with a whiz-bang with the raid on the...
What? That was the best part.
On the bunker
was a bitch...
The bunker of Strucker. The bunker of Baron von Strucker out there in Slovenia. However, what a lot of people may not realize is if you watch Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was led into pretty distinctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, having not seen that, and going the way having not seen that episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., I would say it's a bit of a, holy crap, we're going right into it.
Yeah. And I like the tone of the movie overall, because without the jokes, this whole thing would have felt fucking depressing and apocalyptic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is kind of what it was, main theme was an apocalypse, but...
Well, it's the difficulty of a movie like this, because I think it's something that was kind of overlooked in a lot of what DC's building. We already have several movies that have established that these heroes, by themselves or in particular pairs, can already handle, just hordes of bad guys that are doing all kinds of mean stuff. So if you have something that's big enough that requires most or all of the Avengers, even without the expanded cast of Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Vision, it has to be tremendous. And the way they presented Ultron with that army of duplicates, tremendous was not even the word I would give it. Insurmountable was what I fucking call it.
Yeah. When right at the end there, where they're all falling back to the bomb, and they're just like, "What else you got? Is that the best you got?" And I'm just like, "Oh, you never asked that." And then immediately, right in the line, everything comes out, and he's like, "You had to ask." And I'm just like, "Exactly, there it is."
That church scene, though, I never thought I would see a scene that was better than the changing tracking shot that was in the prior film. That one church scene. Holy fuck! that was the movie in a nutshell, just wild war.
Although, I have to say, the one thing that would make me spend lots and lots of money, the end credits statuette.
Oh, yes, I want that.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Indonesian crew working on a 3D version of that right now, frankly. I did like the scene early on in the film after they had gotten the scepter and they're sitting around the table after the party ended and everyone's testing out Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
I never thought that it would actually come back, actually. I thought it was a one-off gag.
Oh, it could have been, but the gag itself I thought was immaterial. I thought it was great that they actually tried, the Tony Stark and James Rhodes each got like the gauntlets of their armors and was trying to lift the thing together. It wasn't working.
That totally wasn't just a gab. That was obviously to set up why Thor would trust the Vision at the end,
right.
And therefore, once Thor trusts the Vision, everyone else trusts them.
Yeah, but I thought it was even better though that look of panic when Steve Rogers shifted the hammer.
Yeah,
that
was
there was
priceless.
Awesome. Just where he's like, whoa, and that look on his face, I thought Hemsworth pulled that off just perfectly.
Excellently, yes.
There was even a nod to the comics in that scene when everybody said, "Okay, Natasha, you're up," and she says she already knows the answer to that question.
Say, no way.
Wait, can she pick it up or
Nope,
something?
she can't.
Actually, in the comics, she did indeed wield the hammer of Thor for a short time.
Whoa. Whoa.
Actually, that was probably the one twist that I did not see coming, was the fact that the Vision could actually pick up the hammer.
Yeah, and that's the thing that set him apart, was because he's not just an android. Because of the mind gem, I wouldn't say he's a cosmic force. He's just a brand new life form now.
Right. I mean, just the fact that, they made the distinction of Wanda could not read Ultron, but she could read the Vision.
Yeah.
And that also still makes me ask the question, are they going to go the same route as the comics? Is there going to be some kind of relationship between the Vision and Wanda?
I would say that's probably going to be a coin flip at this point, because unfortunately it's one of those tropes of Hollywood where when you have movies with ensemble casts, there's always a relationship that buds, and with Bruce Banner at the end of the film deciding he'd rather not return,
Yep.
they're the likely choices.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Aaron Taylor Johnson and Quicksilver being killed in the film, it didn't take me more than 5 minutes of thought to realize that pretty soon they're going to start filming the Infinity War, and you're talking about a reality warping weapon there.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that even though Kevin Feige has said that they've killed Quicksilver, he's over, he's done, he's dead, wouldn't take much writing to put Quicksilver back in as a result of somebody fiddling with a little too much with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take that with a grain of salt. He's actually said in interviews that they're not discussing Quicksilver at this time, which is kind of funny because you'd almost expect him to say, we're not discussing Quicksilver again instead of at this time.
Right.
Also, when it comes to news in regards to Age of Ultron, Joss Whedon did leave room in the movie potentially for Spider-Man and Captain Marvel. He actually said, quote, "I wanted all of these people. I said it would be great if we could add a few more, if we could have a Captain Marvel there that you made a deal for." And they talked about it. And I was like, and Spider-Man, we could do that too, because Sony had approached us during the first movie about a little integration, so I would have put them both in, but neither of the deals were made.
Damn.
And then they're like, we're making a Captain Marvel movie, and we've got Spider-Man as a property, and I'm like, I've already locked my film, you fuckers! Thanks for nothing! So, little bit of vitriol there. Whedon also said that there was a cameo that was supposed to be done by Tom Hiddleston that hit the cutting room floor.
Well,
I assume that was probably
he's going to make it into the director's cut then.
Yeah.
I assumed he was the hooded figure that moved around Thor's vision when he was under the influence of the Scarlet Witch. It said, quote, "We did shoot something, but it didn't play. The movie has so much. It's so filled. We didn't want it to feel overstuffed. I really wanted to have Loki in it, but I understood the decision that there were now too many voices in the chorus. At some point, the embarrassment of riches is actually embarrassing," unquote.
Yeah, I could see it either during that scene or when he's going back into his vision while he's in the waters.
Now, I actually had an issue with that. It's a minor one. It's like, I didn't actually catch it in his, nightmare vision with under the effects of the Scarlet Witch that he needed to look for something.
He needed a little bit more of an explanation. However, the explanation he came back with was the one that I thought was weird. I thought because of his vision, where his power was what was going to destroy Asgard, would have needed a little more explanation. He goes to the well, he goes through it, he comes back, and he's talking almost entirely about the Infinity Gems, not about the vision that says he's going to destroy Asgard. The fuck, dude?
Yeah.
You know, he came back barking about Infinity Stones, and there's 2 more to discover, and I need more answers. It's like, that's great, but...
He's not talking about it for a reason, probably.
Maybe. As far as Aaron Taylor Johnson's death, he said, quote, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed working on this movie, and I would love to be doing more movies with the guys at Marvel. Maybe there will be some case where that might happen, unquote.
I think he's getting resurrected.
Well, when we found out about Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson being cast, we did find out that their contracts were multi-movie deals. It does seem odd that they would sign him up to it and not make use of it.
I don't know if it's odd. I think, you know, it's easily explained by covering their bases. But, again, they have the option. And, you know, depending on how things go, and the fact that the character was liked enough that it's drawing this response of, no, you shouldn't have killed him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can...
Actually, Whedon had a very interesting comment about that. Do you know there were 2 endings shot for the movie?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I had heard that.
There's actually an ending that they did shoot before they were done where Quicksilver recovered.
I was kind of curious if he would or not.
Yeah, quote, it felt very disingenuous for me, especially the second time around, to make what I refer to as a war movie and say there is no price and everybody walks away. In this movie, we're saying, prove to me that you guys are heroes, and he's the guy that does it. I knew it would be resonant and make everything else work better and matter. The city in the air, that's just an explosion. Wanda's grief, that's extraordinary. I said to Aaron, the only way you'll stay alive is if the Disney executives say, hey, idiot, this is a franchise and we need all these people and you're not allowed to kill them off. We actually did shoot him in the last scene, in an outfit, with his sister. We also shot him waking up saying, I really didn't die from those 47 bullet wounds. So, I also read in another story that there will be, on the Blu-ray, the extended and removed scenes, including the alternate ending. So we'll actually see what Aaron Taylor Johnson would have looked like in his full Avengers outfit. What did you guys think of the team that was assembled at the end after Thor left, Iron Man left, Bruce Banner decided to walk away quietly, and Hawkeye retired to the mountains with his wife?
So it was Scarlet Witch, the Vision,
War Machine.
War Machine, that's right, and
the Falcon.
I'll be honest. Yeah, the Falcon.
The Falcon, the guy that was in with Chris Evans, Anthony Mackie, the black guy with the wings.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah, I will be honest. When Nick Fury said they're showing out support, and I saw War Machine, kind of say, "Okay, where's the Falcon? He could do this too. Where's the Falcon? No Falcon." Like, my exact words: "Where's the other black guy?"
You know what? Frankly, he said he was working on that missing persons case for Cap, meaning he's looking for the Winter Soldier. And I will not mince words. The Falcon is completely outmatched here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he is the current Captain America. They needed. I personally would love to be able to fly. If your only superpower is flight, it just doesn't wow me.
Look, that shield makes a shit ton of difference.
Yeah.
You know, whoever can wield that thing properly has a very viable weapon and defense in their hands. But the Falcon, as he's presented here, has no super abilities, a pair of wings that is a little too destructible, and his primary weapons are a pair of submachine guns. Look, you know, it's just like Hawkeye. All balls for standing with these people because it's fucking crazy. But at the same time, what they were facing, in particular, in the form of Ultron and all these Iron Man-like robots flying around, that is not where you want this guy.
Yeah, actually, given his background in rescue and so forth, he could have had a role, but it would not have been a combat one.
Oh, it wouldn't have been flashy at all.
Yeah. Actually, that kind of... The whole idea with him being a rescue kind of leads into one of my actually favorite scenes out of the entire movie. And that's actually when the helicarrier popped out of nowhere and started shipping out the rescue barges. And I figure it's like, That's the entire point of the Avengers.
Shield. And yeah.
That was one of the few almost universal praises I've seen on the internet about this film, is that it is not the Man of Steel. The Avengers actually gave a shit about the people in the city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every scene where the Avengers were fighting, they made it very clear throughout the 3 major fight scenes that collateral damage was something they wanted at an absolute minimum.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, if you look at the first movie, the whole point of it was getting all these heroes together to fight under a common goal. For this movie, it's about what the Avengers stand for. What are they supposed to do? They're not supposed to defeat the bad guys. They're supposed to save people. And that's what they did.
Even in that first movie, what did they do when they finally put together the full team? They tried to limit the fighting to a particular square footage.
Yep.
They made sure that people who were in hostage situations or in buildings were removed as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second movie, they expanded upon that because now they're a practice team. They actually knew what they were doing, and they worried about people. They weren't just trying to make the world a better place by hitting the bad guys that much harder. They were trying to make sure that people weren't getting killed as a result of their own actions.
Yeah, the thing is, the situation that play up is like the floating city was going to turn into a kinetic bomb, and it's like they want to save everyone, the world, and the people on that are stuck on that island. It's like, and it's kind of looking like they couldn't do both.
Yeah, now if you really want to save the world, now that it's all done, you find Tony Stark and shoot him in the fucking head.
And Beast.
No, I mean, as far as a movie, either as a sequel to... You know, Age of Ultron doesn't work very well as a standalone film because the prior film is 100% set up for what's going on in here, at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But as part of a franchise, this is a solid continuation. As an end cap to Phase 2, this is incredible. Now, I almost worry because the beginning of Phase 3, Ant-Man, begins in just a month and a half here, and it has a lot of shit to cover all of a sudden.
Mm.
Because now, I mean, think about the movies that came after Avengers. Things are kind of difficult because New York was turned to a shithole and people are wary. Now this kind of shit has happened twice. So you almost have to wonder what the characters afterwards are going to think, because their world is slowly being turned inside out by all this crazy shit that's going on.
Right, and now you've got some guy that can shrink hella small but still maintain his mass.
And it's just been confirmed that he's going to take part in the Civil War somehow.
Yeah, so, I mean, the thing of it is, the government looking for, you know, some kind of way to make, you know, their own...
Even the playing field?
It makes total sense, you know, that they want more Captain Americas. They want the ability to remain relevant without having to call on these, you know, godlike beings and so forth. I think that's kind of they're in.
Yeah, that may have been the most poignant line Chris Evans delivered through the entire film. You know, I really wish we were back in the time when the weirdest thing we were dealing with was me. I despite it being 2.5 hours long, I wish it was longer, frankly. Yeah. There was a wonderful story going on in there, and I wouldn't have minded if they pumped it up to 3 hours to take a little more time with the character moments, because action was there in spades.
Yeah.
And frankly, after watching this movie, I was worried going in. Now I'm excited about all the movies going through Infinity War.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the setup, because you know the next few movies, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, and even Civil War is a setup for what's coming up in Infinity War. And now that we know Thanos is on the warpath, this shit's going to be good.
Yeah, as Jesse pointed out too, you know, Thanos is pulling that Infinity Gauntlet out in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's the treasure vault from Asgard.
Yeah, that's where it was. It's already been shown there, so that means he's on Asgard.
Or somebody stole it from Asgard.
No, the way the vault opened up is the way the vault opened is the same way the Destroyer got introduced in the first Thor movie.
The thing is, though, I expect Thanos to be in several movies upcoming, because it's been established he has to go to Asgard. He has to go, and this is just for the stones, not let alone the gauntlet. He has to go to Asgard. He has to go to the Collector's Realm on Nowhere. He has to go to Xandar, and he has to come face to face with the Avengers if he wants the 4 stones that we know of.
Right.
They reveal the identity, the locations of 5 stones. We only know the identities of only 4 of them, though, because the Collector does have 2.
No, the Collector has 1. He had the Aether.
He had 2 because he says, 2 down, 4 to go. I'm pretty sure
that was at the end of Thor: Dark World.
And you know what? That's one of the few films I don't own, so I haven't had a chance to really break that one down.
Oh, so good.
But
Are you sure he's not just referring to the fact that those were the only two that were known at that point?
It could be.
Because by that time, the only ones that are revealed were the Aether and the Tesseract. Which were, if I remember correctly, the reality and the space gems.
Was it reality or power?
Power was the orb.
The orb?
Yeah, the one that, what's his name had? Ronan.
Really? I thought that would have been the reality gem.
No, that was power.
Huh. I guess
Remember,
I guess we cannot...
Malekith the Accused was going to use the Aether or the reality gem to rewrite his planet.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess we can't rely on the color coding we remember from the comics then.
I would say not, because the Mind Gem, as far as I knew, was the blue one, not the yellow.
Blue one.
Yep.
So we're dealing with something completely different. The only two we haven't seen are Time and Soul.
Yep.
So I would say if you haven't seen Age of Ultron, go out and watch it. It is the quintessential superhero film to date.
Actually, there's one little minor thing. It is a goodie. It's more toward the guys that help animate Ultron. Because, he's got those weird things where his cheeks would be.
Yeah, they come in and out depending on how pissed he was.
Yeah, and when it goes out, it actually makes him look like the Ultron skull that we actually are very familiar with from the comics.
I was happy with that little reference, but it didn't need to look like the Ultron skull. That was one of those things that would have looked awful if that was all it looked like throughout the film.
Yeah.
So, full marks to Whedon and his team. They spent time thinking about this movie from top to bottom and trying to make everybody happy.
Of course they didn't succeed, but who does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they worked hard on it, and it shows, and it's sad that Whedon isn't working on the next one, but the fact that the Russos are working on Avengers Infinity War makes me happy. Those guys are an incredible pair of directors, and I'm looking forward to what they give us right now since they're working on Civil War.
Mm.
So, next week, we are talking to the conductor of the Legend of Zelda concert going on during Comic-Con, Symphony of the Goddesses.
Should be interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be a place we've never been before, but I look forward to it. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again next week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Mother's Day. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And V.
Don't jerk and drive. Have a great one. It never fails to make her laugh. I'm almost astonished.
Yeah, it never fails to make my eyes roll.